Good morning and welcome to a brand new day on the AM show, where we bring you information that is the most current and ask questions that matter to you on issues that matter to you. My name is Sweetie Abochi and I do this with Benjamin Akakpo. This morning we'll start by serving you the AM news, the first news bulletin on the channel, anchored by Dawhnenya-Kpone. And then we'll get into our news review segment and we will be joined by Dr. Kwame Asante. He's a political scientist and head of the European Studies at the University of Ghana. Haruna Mumbarak will then serve you AM Sports, bringing you the latest chronicles from the world of sports. And what do we have on our table this morning for our big stories? We'll go to Komenda, where 52.5 million Ghana cedis has been sunk so far. And yet the Komenda Sugar Factory is yet to be revived into a profitable venture amidst stiff resentment from the citizens of Komenda. What are they saying? They are vehemently opposing a supposed deal with Watco, an Indian company, for a 20-year lease with the government, estimating a $1 million profit a year. But the people of Komenda say the deal is in the interest of the Indian sugarcane farmers and not the Ghanaian farmers. So what's the way to an acceptable path for the Komenda Sugar Factory that has remained an albatross for the nation? We will probe the issues. And then we're also at Dawhenya this morning, where that unprecedented gridlock has become a major source of concern for motorists and residents. And what has been their coping strategies? We'll bring you up to date on that beat as well. And then, of course, we have AM Business today, Wednesday, and we'll tell you how effective supply chain management influences production processes, leading to economic growth. James Shen is on that beat. You want to stay with us, as well as many other conversations coming your way this morning in this 4-hour package on the AM show, your best breakfast show on the block. Let's start now with the AM news.
Hello, good morning. It's now time for AM News. My name is Dawhnenya-Kpone. We begin from politics. The flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, John Dramani Mahama, will engage the media in Bolgatanga today to wrap up his 4-day tour of the Upper East region. Now, the media encounter dubbed #Mahama Conversations will be broadcast live on radio and television networks across the region and the country. According to the campaign spokesperson Joyce Bawa Muktari, the media encounter will be live on all Mahama's social media pages from 8 a.m. The engagement will afford journalists another opportunity to ask the NDC leader questions about his re-election bid, his transformative policy proposals, and matters related to Upper East region. So we have a statement here for you, and it reads: Mahama will hold a media encounter to wrap up the Upper East campaign tour. It says the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, will engage the media in Bolgatanga on Wednesday to wrap up his 4-day campaign tour. It goes ahead to say, according to the campaign spokesperson, that's Joyce Bawa Muktari, the encounter will be broadcast live from 8 a.m. Now, away from Mahama Conversations, the Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo has called on microfinance companies to leverage the newly created specialized court, the Small Claims Debt Recovery Court system, for expeditious recovery of debts from defaulting customers. Now, if successfully patronized, the Chief Justice says the newly established court will not only improve the services of microfinance companies, but will ultimately lead to timely delivery of justice within the financial sector. Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Torkornoo said this at the official launch of the new court system at the La District Court on Tuesday. Latif Idris was there and has come through with the rest of the story.
The new Small Claims Debt Recovery Court, according to the Chief Justice, was instigated by Bills Microfinance Limited, formerly known as Quick Credit and Investment Microcredits Limited. That company alone is chasing hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis from about 50,000 defaulting clients nationwide. The volume of cases, according to the Chief Justice, makes it imperative for the creation of the specialized court.
Though bills or quick credit may have provoked this initiative, the courts are a national asset, open to adjudicating claims from all financial institutions in order that the time value of money claims are not eroded by delays in the courts. Indeed, the provision of Saturday courts have been operational for several years now and serve primarily the needs of national agencies that need to recover sums of money from significant numbers of citizens and businesses, such as SNIT.
The Municipal Chief Executive for La Dade Kutupong, Solomon Kote-Nikwe, says his assembly will leverage on the new court system to recover property rates from property owners within his jurisdiction.
As an assembly, we will leverage on the establishment of the court to improve our debt recovery activities, most especially in the areas of defaults and areas in property rates payments.
Addressing journalists following the official launch of the new court system by the Chief Justice, founder and board chairman of Bills Microcredit Limited, Richard Ni Amakwe, expressed optimism about how the specialized court will change the face of microfinancing in Ghana and help his company recoup hundreds of thousands of Ghana cedis from defaulting clients.
Today, I can confidently say that as an investor, our confidence has been boosted. And you see, when the confidence of investors are boosted in the country, there's only one outcome. The outcome is that the investors would continue to even invest more. And when investors invest more, you can imagine what will happen. The people of Ghana and society at large will benefit. So I think that today is a great day for us as a company, for our dear customers, and for the society at large.
As part of the pilot program for the new court system, the Small Claims Debt Recovery Court will sit 6 days in a week, from 2 to 8 p.m. on weekdays and from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays.
Now, concerned students of the University of Media, Arts and Communication, Institute of Journalism, UNIMAC-IJ, are demanding the intervention of the school management to restore the integrity of the SRC elections. Now, the call comes on the back of alleged involvement of the current SRC president, Fatimatu Ali, in the 2024 electoral process, which is contrary to the SRC constitution. Addressing the media, lead convener of the concerned student, Akufo-Addo Mohammed, urged the current SRC president to resign and distance herself from the electoral process and allow management to conduct free, fair and transparent election. Latif Musa has more.
The 2024 Student Representative Council election of the University of Media, Arts and Communication, Institute of Journalism, UNIMAC-IJ, turned into controversy as students called the management to take over the SRC electoral process following a series of developments after this year's election. Akufo-Addo Mohammed, a lead convener of the concerned students, said, for the past 4 years, the SRC elections have been marred with controversies and mismanagement denigrating the integrity of election process.
It is worth knowing that since 2020, the SRC has been embroiled in a series of controversies and mismanagement, particularly concerning our election processes. In 2020, the decision to adopt an online mode of election was implemented. Subsequent years followed, and same trend. And this decision, unfortunately, has led to recent problems. In 2020, there was a court case regarding the elections. In 2022, there was a court case regarding the elections. In 2023, I was personally involved in a legal battle over the election results. I took the matter to court, which eventually escalated to management level. Our current SRC president, Fatimatu Ali, in collaboration with the Judicial Committee and certain members of the appeals board, namely Moses Desire Kuyo and Stephen Beto, the current presidential candidate, have engaged in questionable activities. In light of this disturbing development, I am calling on management of Unimark IJ to intervene as advised by the EC chair before resigning. It is imperative that management oversees a fair and transparent election to dismantle this chain of corrupt and restore the integrity within the SRC.
On the 4th of August, the SRC Electoral Commission cancelled the 2024-2025 election result over what the Commission described as manipulation of the election system by third-party and automatic duplicate for certain candidates. According to the EC, in preparation towards this year's election, the SRC President Fatimatu Ali and Defendant General of the SRC, Mawuli Wega, took $2,850 as payment to design a website for the online election, with the EC as the sole controller to the backend. However, the backend was not exclusively handed over to the EC, allowing third parties to manipulate the election result on the voting day. Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Elizabeth Na-Adole Kpakpo-Feda, said the SRC President Fatimatu Ali and Defendant General Mawuli Wega should be held responsible should anything happens to her after her release.
Now, the Upper West branch of the United Cadres Front, UCF, has jumped to the defense of the Speaker of Parliament for walking out the Sefiri-Oso Member of Parliament, Dr. Kwekwe. The Sefiri-Oso legislator was walked out of Parliament for what the Speaker deemed as disrespectful comments. At a press conference in Wa addressed by Ghana's former ambassador to Mali, Ambassador Mahmoud Khalid, he says the Speaker did no wrong and wouldn't apologize for his actions. Join News' Upper West Region correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The 2024 student
Speaker of Parliament Albanson Manak in Sport Babin a couple of weeks ago ordered the Marshal in Parliament to walk out a Member of Parliament for Sefiri-Oso, Dr. Kwekwe, for disrespectful comments. That fatwa by the Speaker ruffled some feathers at the home constituency of Dr. Kwekwe. Some residents poured into the streets and demanded an unconditional apology within a week, threatening to take further action if their demands are not met. The Upper West branch of the United Cadres Front, UCF, at a press conference addressed by former Ghana's ambassador to the Republic of Mali, Ambassador Mahmoud Khalid, says Speaker Alban Babin did no wrong and wouldn't apologize.
That the right honorable Speaker is well imbued with parliamentary practice and will do nothing untoward in his sphere of duty. He acted within parliamentary rules and cannot be faulted for his action on that day in Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, we, the United Cadres Front of the Upper West region, are solidly in support of the Right Honourable Speaker in his bid to bring sanity and respect to the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
They described the threat by the Sefiri-Oso residents as empty and wouldn't sit down on concern for them to run the Speaker down due to their parochial interest.
We will not take it kindly for any person or group of persons who, for parochial political interests, seek to malign the Speaker. The United Cadres Front of Upper West region are emphatic about the Right Honourable Speaker not owing anybody or group of persons any apology. The threats from the Sefiri-Oso constituency are empty threats and will be countered if any such attempt is made. The Right Honourable Speaker will not apologize. Let the misguided elements in the Sefiri-Oso come to the realization that their MP only represents a constituency. The important personality they are ignorantly threatening is a national figure, and they should not attempt.
The Upper West branch of the UCF also used the opportunity to sway young cadres into their fold. Reporting for Day News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Well, in our climate focus series today, women in Tolon, Kumbungu, Savelugu, and Nanton, all of the northern region, are receiving assistance to develop small-scale irrigation systems, enabling them to grow vegetables all year round. Now, the project is employing multiple approaches to support smallholder farmers in cultivating vegetables, utilizing community-owned dams and underground water resources. This initiative not only enhances their income, but also enables them to adapt to shifting weather patterns. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin has more in our Climate Focus series.
Women tending to their vegetable garden, a daily routine that ensures their crops receive the necessary water to thrive. The water flowing from the dam supplies the garden, where the women collect it from this point to nourish their vegetables such as bitter leaf, pepper, among others. Fatih Ibrahim is one of the beneficiaries.
As soon as dawn breaks, we all hurry to the farm and work begins immediately upon arrival. If we are fortunate, vegetable buyers will show up, and if we have crops like ayoyo, bra, or beans ready, we can harvest and sell them on the spot. This is a privilege we get to enjoy.
In Kumbungu district, for instance, 30 smallholder farmers, 60% of whom are women, are currently benefiting from the project. Fatih explains that the project has empowered her to assist her husband as the unpredictable weather patterns have hindered their ability to grow crops as they used to.
The assistance we received has been a blessing to our entire family, including our husbands and children. We use the funds to purchase ingredients at the market and also cover expenses like grinding maize and millet. Additionally, it sometimes provides extra money for our children's needs when our husbands are unable to provide.
Rafia Moro's experience is similar to Fatih's, as she too has found relief and increased engagement through the project, which has provided her with new opportunities and involvement.
Our community was once stagnant, with little to no productivity or activity beyond mere survival. But Then Go Adapt arrived and sparked a transformation, awakening us from a state of dormancy. The impact has been immense, bringing numerous benefits and improvement to our lives.
These rural women used to rely on rainfall to plant their crops, but now they have a more reliable solution. For example, Adamu Mohammed would have previously been idle, waiting for the unpredictable rains, but now he has more stable and productive option.
In the past, during this time of the season, we felt lost and uncertain about what to do. But now, on Kumbungu market days, if you are unable to attend, you feel incomplete because we have grown accustomed to acquiring essential food items and even setting aside some savings from the sales we generate. When I come to this market to buy vegetables, my purchases vary. Sometimes I spend 100 cedis, other times 80 cedis, and occasionally 30 cedis. In the past, I would travel to Buntanga and Dalong to buy vegetables, incurring transportation costs of 20 cedis, but now I prefer to buy here because it's more convenient. And I even invite my fellow market women to join me since I often can't use up all my purchases alone.
Coordinator for the project, Ibrahim Nuruddin, says the project aims to take women out of poverty and provide stable income for them.
Particularly the smallholder farmers are benefiting a lot from the project. It helps them to generate income to support their families. It also helps to improve their nutritional value. It helps them improve their livelihood and also do a lot of things from this. And usually when it comes to the dry season, it becomes difficult for them to get vegetables. They need to travel to faraway communities to buy them. But now it is within their communities, then they use that to improve their nutritional value and also supplement their food needs.
Before this garden, during the dry season, we were sitting in the house, playing Oware and other things, doing other petty things, which was not beneficial to us. So, Go Adapt came here, they bring these projects, we see that it is helpful. We make these fence to start cultivation of vegetables and beans. So through that, we are able to get some vegetables to eat in our houses. We also get some to sell, get some income to support our children's education.
The women express gratitude for the Go Adapt project, a collaborative initiative by changing lives in innovative partnerships and youth empowerment for Life Ghana, which they say is transforming their lives for the better. The project prioritizes inclusive climate adaptation planning, empowering the smallholder farmers to build resilience and adapt to the challenges of changing weather patterns. The beneficiaries of the project comprised 1,440 households from farmer groups spanning 24 communities across 4 districts, in addition to 200 households from 2 farmer associations, totaling 1,640 households.
And so this project is being implemented in 24 communities and in 4 districts. In each district, we are implementing it in 6 communities. And the Kombongo district happened to be a beneficiary of the project. And in Kombongo district, Tiago, which is what we visited today, is one of the beneficiary communities. And Tiago is also doing the small-scale vegetable irrigation. For the small-scale vegetable irrigation, we leverage on perennial dams and we leverage on other perennial water sources. These water sources does not dry up till the dry season, and they can use it all year round for vegetable cultivation. So Tiago is a beneficiary, and 30 farmers are benefiting from this small-scale vegetable irrigation, and 22 of these farmers are women, and we have 8 of them being men, and they get a lot of benefits from the projects.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Dry season, they have no rain.
Well, it's now time for business updates with Benjamin Akako.
Well, good morning. Welcome on our business updates for today. In our first story, the Bank of Ghana has given the firm assurance it will continue to restore confidence and trust in the financial sector. This follows the sanctioning of 47 individuals and some 245 business entities for issuing debt checks. These individuals and businesses have also been barred from accessing new credit facilities from financial institutions. Speaking to Joy Business on the back of this action, Director Financial Stability Department at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Kwesi Osei-Yeboah, said they would intensify their monitoring systems to flush out all illegal activities within the financial sector.
We've notified the banks and we've asked them to notify their customers. So as we speak, it is a fair assumption to say that all these individuals and entities have been notified. And in fact, some of them have reached out to us, offering all manner of explanation as to why it happened. So they've been notified. I think at this stage it's confidential information. Want to respect the privacy of these individuals and entities concerned. So we've indicated these individuals and entities to the banks for them to inform them. We're doing our usual on-site and off-site supervisory activities, and we're monitoring it. Mind you, this is not a one-off thing. It's supposed to be done periodically. For the next 3 months, we'll come out with the next set of entities, if there are any, and we'll publish those as well. You'd agree with me, if you go to some jurisdiction, you can walk into a store or a departmental store or grocery shop and buy items and issue a check as payment. But in our case, people wouldn't normally accept it, except they wait for it to clear before they will allow you to take the goods out. So we're monitoring it. The ultimate objective is to restore that confidence and trust in check as a payment instrument.
Now, more than 40 professional bodies in the country risk being removed from the books of the Register of Companies. This was after they failed to meet the June 30 deadline for filing their annual returns and updating their certificates of membership. Jemima Owari is the Registrar of Companies.
What it means is that you'll be on your own. You cannot transact business under the Ghana Bar Association. We are professionals by the fact that we've been called to the bar. But we are all members of the association. I am also a member of the Ghana Bar Association. But that doesn't mean that the right thing should not be done. And so we would advise that to make us comfortable in operating as professionals under the GBA or under the Chartered Institute of Bankers, or any of the professional bodies I've mentioned, and even the Ghana Journalists Association, all of you are part of it. We have to make sure, yes, we have to make sure that the professional body itself is in compliance with the Act. And then each of you members also have been registered and renewed and in good standing. So it's all of us. And mind you, I'm not canceling anybody yet. I'm just informing you of the need to update before the end of the year. But the end of the year is just sort of an indication. But the real date is 31st of January, 2025. I cannot even take you off the books until I give you at least 1 month's notice. So for now, I'm asking them to comply by the 31st of December, going at most into 31st of January 2025. After 31st of January 2025, I would have to serve a notice on them, at least 1 month's notice before the names are taken off. And if it's taken off, you cannot practice under that name. If the whole body is off, then the member is also off. And so we'll put it out there so everybody will know that you risk doing business with this professional who is not recognized on our books.
Well, that's it for our business updates for today. Up next, our currency market. Well, that's it for our business updates. Handing over back to Dawhnenya-Kpone.
Thank you, Benjamin. And that's it for AM News. Up next is News Review. Don't forget that we'll be joined by Dr. Kwame Asante. He's political scientist and head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. My name is Dawhnenya-Kpone, and as usual, enjoy the rest of your day.
It's our return on the AM show. I nearly started singing, it's the return of the Mac, but no, it's the return of that duo. What color are you wearing this morning?
Pink.
Pink?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just pink.
Okay.
Plain, old-fashioned pink.
I see. I'm in charcoal gray and black and shades of brown. But this is not a colorful lesson we're about to have. We're veering into the news review, and it's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening if you're a woman for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches, starting from here in Accra. We go to Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Bwehian behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zama. You can reach them via the phone lines on these two numbers if you're ready. 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Joining us this morning, he is a political scientist. He has worked in the media before. He's a man who speaks his mind. And he's also head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. His name, Dr. Kwame Asante. He joins the conversation. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning, Sweetie, and good morning to our viewers.
All right. Sweetie?
Doc, it's good to have you. So you have your minute or two to take us through what's on your mind this morning.
Right. I want to look at a statement by Professor Michael Quay that the people of this country owe the human rights they are enjoying to the NPP. And that if they want any party that will serve that interest, then it is the NPP. All right. I have a reflection on that, and I want to talk about it briefly.
Okay.
I must say that Professor Michael Quay was my teacher, level 200, 300, and I must say here, without a doubt, that he was such a great teacher, and he taught us very well. There are a lot of things I do today relative to Ghanaian politics that I learned under his feet, and I have no doubt in my mind that he continues to be one of my best teachers. That is a fact. But that aside, I will look at what he said. And it's born out of some of the things he taught us, including the same subjects, which have over the years also built capacity on. And I want to speak on that. The statement he made is partly correct, but there is an aspect that he shoved under the carpet, which I want to bring to the fore. It is true that under Nkrumah, there were some human rights violations that were committed. And that is true with all succeeding or subsequent governments from 1966 up to today. That is also a fact. The issue of human rights violations, particularly under the PDA, the Preventive Detention Act, was a sorry story, to say the least. People were put into prison without trial. It started in 1960, and 58, and it was 5 years in jail without trial. If the state found you as somebody who was a threat to the state, you could be languishing in jail without trial. They amended it in 1964 and extended it to what? Another 5 years.
Right.
Detention without trial. it is that type of, exercise that brought the unfortunate incident that Dankwa was detained and he died in prison. Very, very unfortunate story. Very, very. A number of people were incarcerated without trial, and we know that it is a fact. That aside, if you look at the regimes that followed Nkrumah, and I'm looking at those that gravitate towards the Dankwa-Buzia tradition, whether military and civilian, but I'll start with the military. If you look at the National Liberation Council, which was led by Ankara, later led by Afrifa, that regime also did what they accused Nkrumah of, the very crime that they accused Nkrumah of, committing the same crime. There were a number of people Nkrumah had imprisoned due to what? Preventive Detention Act. As they were released from prison because there was a new regime, at the same time, the government also was putting into jail people they found as threats to the NLC. And they came out with a law called the Protective Custody Act. Protective Custody Act. That law also enabled the NLC to imprison people that they found threats to the regime. So why was my professor also hiding that one from the people? I thought that the good old professor would bring the balance sheet. That's one of his expressions in class, the balance sheet, the pluses and the minuses, so that we'll be able to know that, yes, some also occurred under a tradition.
Right.
In fact, beyond that, there was somebody who was a loyalist to Kwame Nkrumah. He was called Boy Moses. He was put in a cage, dragged on the street of Accra. If you look at this, what type of, gory tale would this be? It's the highest in human rights violation that you can see. But you see, beyond that, if you look at even the Fourth Republic, all regimes have committed human rights one way or the other. And I will urge everybody to Google and look at the State Department report on human rights, the U.S. State Department report on human rights. There are gory tales of human rights violations even under the Fourth Republic. And the regime that have tasted power in the Fourth Republic are guilty of that. They have their fair share of these violations. So I want to believe that when we are looking at the political history of this country, I believe that we should bring the balance sheet, the pluses, the minuses, and all that, so that we'll be able to sift in between them and then make a realistic a decision on them. But where you talk about some and you leave the rest, then it becomes an incomplete record. So on this note, I want to set the record straight by telling my prof that the things that he told me, I am bringing them to the fore.
Okay.
We are interested in dealing with human rights and all that, but we should not lose sight on the fact that our forebears worked and tried to help us to build a country we call our own, a country which is a just country, a country where there will be peace, freedom, justice, and all that. So this should occupy our attention, so that it doesn't matter whether one group protected human rights the best than other. All that we need to do is that even one human right violation, we must know that it is bad enough to soil our reputation, and we need to safeguard that.
I will just add this little bit in some 30 seconds, that I was also taken aback by Professor Michael Kpone, in the sense that, like he rightly pointed out, no regime, no administration has been free of human rights abuses. Nkrumah, and one thing I always say that people should pay attention to, Nkrumah became paranoid on the back of certain activities, all the way from the 50s. In fact, I remember the Corporal Ametewe incident. Direct gunfire at him. The bombing in Kulungugu. You had over 5 assassination attempts against the man. It would make anybody paranoid. So we all talk about the PDA, the Preventive Detention Act. It was bad and all of that. Something led the man there. And I'm wondering if those things had happened to any of our presidents in the Fourth Republic, how they would have reacted. In any case, and this is a case I'm going to make forcefully as one of my points of discussion on Friday in my blunt thoughts. 8 people died in election 2020. Human rights? You had law students go on the street. Law students go on the street to demonstrate. They were hit with water cannons, pepper spray. They were lashed. Human rights? Please. Let's. I mean, if certain attempts are made to paint certain things in a certain way, it's egregious. But I'll leave it there.
Ben,
on Friday, I'll have a proper take on these matters.
Yeah, this is just a quick one. Your position that Nkrumah, did what it did because of certain...
I'm not saying solely, but it led him there.
Yes, because of certain situations. That one I also disagree. Because, look, the fact that there were assassination attempts on your life and all that, you could not detain people without trial. That I fundamentally
agreed. Per the law, it wasn't right. But he made it legal. He made it legal.
Yeah, if you look at Nkrumah's background, Nkrumah said that the political system in the Gold Coast was very corrupt. And for that matter, he wanted to go and study in the United States. He went there, studied there. He learned all those things. So you can't come to Ghana and implement that type of rule, draconian and all that.
Right.
People's rights must be given to them. Rights are those conditions that enable people to develop to become the best of themselves. So I believe that even it doesn't matter how egregious is the offense, give people a hearing so that they can defend themselves. That is where I find it problematic. But apart from that, all the regimes have also negative reports relative to the way they govern from day one up to date.
Doc, I agree with you, but all I'm saying is you can't pick and choose between these and act as though someone did worse when you have your own record. But let's get into the papers now.
Thank you for those insightful thoughts. Let me start with the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, our preserved traditions, customs. That is according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. National security justifies 6 million Ghana cedis Boko budget and 3 Hack Bishop jailed for contempt. Nana calls for Gulf of Guinea Commission review and 450 MSMEs get YouStart support. Let's start with the story of the National Security Minister defending the 6 million budget for Boko, and the Ministry of National Security has responded to criticism over its monthly budget of 6 million Ghana cedis for operations in Boko, describing remarks by the Member of Parliament for the area, Mahama Yariga, as unfortunate and mistaken. The ministry emphasized that the funds are part of its general operations budget and are crucial for maintaining peace in Boko, despite alternative uses such as enhancing Ghana's resilience against security threats like terrorism and violent extremism spreading across West Africa. And this is in response to Mr. Yariga's questioning what the 6 million Ghana cedis budget is really going to do. And the National Security Minister is saying that the situation in Boko is still a very sensitive one, and so that's what the money is for. Government kicks off regional accountability tour. Nana calls for Gulf of Guinea Commission review. Kalabule shenanigans, that is an editorial here. And then to JDM, why run away from debating a liar? Hopefully we get the chance to have both flag bearers on one stage and understand what they are proposing for this country. Bank of Ghana sanctions 245 businesses for issuing debt checks. Let me get into the story a bit. The Bank of Ghana has imposed sanctions on 245 business entities and some 47 individuals for issuing debt checks. A statement from the BOG on August 5th said the individuals and the entities breached a notice which was published on March 2021. Quote, the affected bank customers issued debt checks on at least 3 occasions between January 2022 and January 2024, despite warnings about the consequences of these actions. Away from that, 1 million youth to acquire digital skills for jobs. It's a Daily Guide report. Tomato prices drop. Really? Prices of tomatoes at the Agbogloshi market in Accra have suddenly dropped after months of upward trend. This is because tomatoes are now in season and there are many available as retailers and consumers are happy about the lower prices. A report by local radio station City FM indicates that tomato sellers can now buy tomatoes at a lower price and sell them to customers at a lower price. I'll go to the market later today and check for myself. A Japadia book riddled with falsehood, that is according to the NPP, and judiciary working on expanding infrastructure. In sports, a Free Aprempe starts unity campaign, and on the back page of the Daily Guide newspaper, Ghana face Angola, Niger in AFCON qualifiers. I thought Jamaican was winner, that is according to Noah Lyles, and Paris swimming cancelled over pollution. Man U will take more risks next season, that is according to Andre Onana. These stories all coming from the Daily Guide newspaper. For your reflections, Doc.
Right. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me look at the 6 million national security budget, which the minister is justifying. Why are we having a banter on this? It is a common practice that we have heard and known in this country that issue of national security is not under scrutiny. If that is anything to go by, you ask yourself, so at what point do we have to scrutinize? If now MPs in Parliament are scrutinizing the national security budget, there's nothing wrong with that. It is part of the oversight responsibility of Parliament. Parliament, apart from other roles, one of its important roles is to serve as an oversight on government executive actions and inactions. So any budget prepared by the state or any of the executive institutions under executive should come under strict scrutiny of Parliament. So when they ask this thing, I think the question is legitimate. It is the duty of the minister, which is who is the spending officer, to be able to justify why we need that, right? Or why we need that amount of quantum of money. So when he is able to provide the figures right, I think there should not be any problem. But this tells us, I'm sure the MP was worried about the quantum of money and all that. It tells us that, look, war is expensive. War is expensive. We should not get there. Look at the money we could use to develop a country. Now we are using it to maintain peace. Why? So in spite of our differences, at a point in time, we must be able to smoke peace pie and allow peace to prevail in whatever areas we find ourselves. If we continue to have war, and that are not we are not able to handle them, at the end of the day, we are going to spend more than this. So yes, much as I want to be in the shoes of the MP, all of us should reflect on the fact that war is expensive and that when you start it, you find it difficult to end.
Right.
And then the security also owe this country a duty to protect, and it will call for money. How do we balance that? So I believe that we should look at all these things and then also make sure that we have value for money. It shouldn't be the case that, yes, because there's a problem and that the bills are too much for us to bear. But I am sure that all these things are subject of scrutiny. And once we get the basis right, I don't think we should have a problem. But the main problem is that let us deal with war once and for all. And we will not be able to, we will not get into a position of spending serious money that we can use for development.
All right.
A quick reaction to that, just an add-on. War is expensive. Interestingly, in the African context, corruption is even more expensive. If you look at the devastation of war in the pockets of countries that it is prevalent on the continent, it is very expensive. I've been in wars before, so I know. And Liberia is still reeling. It has never gone back to what it was. But if you look at the cost of corruption on the continent, corruption is more expensive, which is why we need to look into those sums of money. Every little drop. Look at even Ghana, even per what our finance ministry has been telling us, anything between 4 and 6 billion. And that is how many years ago? So imagine how much we lose to corruption maybe by now, every year. If you add those, trust me, corruption is more expensive than war. So let's deal with the corruption as well.
I agree. And that's why I'm saying that we should ensure value for money. If we ensure value for money, there will not be any corruption and we'll be able to save. I'll urge you to read a book written by one British scholar, and it's titled The Bottom Billion. It gives you an idea that if you go into war, the kind of underdevelopment you are going to experience. He gave certain years, that in certain years, you will spend about 20 years, 50 years before you develop. So don't start. You'll find it difficult to end. I urge everybody to read the book, The Bottom Billion.
All right, let's get into your paper now, Ben.
Well, let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Economic growth favors the rich. ISA demands income redistribution, something I'm passionate about. Resist photocopying of Ghana card for transactions. Margins Group CEO says so. Graphic WFP hold technical stakeholders breakfast meeting today. Then there's 2020 election violence. Shraj hands tied. Human rights body calls for expedited court cases. And then amend NHIA Act for efficient NHIS. Dr. Abuaji Da Costa says so. Chief Justice launches small claims debt recovery courts and constant electricity supply. My priority. That's according to Herbert Crapper. Let's quickly get into these stories. The country's economic figures stand in sharp contrast with the daily economic hardships faced by citizens, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research has observed. It said although the country's total income distributed per person, also known as per capita income, had increased by $386 from the $1,979 in 2016 to $2,365 in 2023. The Institute is of the view that widespread inequality remains. In a report after its assessment of the mid-year budget review, the Institute, which researches into social and economic issues, said in spite of the positive economic outlook, anecdotal evidence from studies such as the Afrobarometer surveys in the first quarter of the year suggested growing hardship due to an increased price of food, increased transport fares, and rising fuel and cement prices. It goes on, but it tells the story of what we all know. It talks about debt management, among others. We like talking loftily, I should say, about the macro economy and these gains and all of that. Usually it is only a certain bracket of people you see benefiting from that. How about the micro economy? How does it get into your pocket, my pocket? Cost of utilities, cost of cement, cost of water, cost of food. That's the question. So it's a good thing to hear that tomato prices are falling, for example. But what is the rest of the ripple effect? Page 20 is my next. Maybe I should go to page 13 before I get to page 20 on that Shraj bit. The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has ruled that it lacks the power to investigate the 2020 electoral violence, which I was just citing, which claimed 8 lives because similar cases were already pending before the law courts. In a report dated June 13, 2023, Shraj said Article 219 of the 1992 Constitution barred it from investigating matters which were pending before the courts, while its enabling law, the Shraj Act 1993, Act 456, also did not clothe it with such powers. I guess time for us to look at some of these. Then amend NHIA Act for efficient NHIS. Dr. Abuaji, the CEO of the NHIA, has called for the amendment of the National Health Insurance Authority Act to ensure the immediate release of National Health Insurance levy proceeds to the scheme. Oftentimes, you would have the Finance Ministry, other agencies dilly-dallying with money that must go there for them to also do their work. That's the thrust of that bit. I'll end on page 20, and then you can come in, Doc, with that final story. Resist photocopying of Ghana card for transactions. So Ghanaians have been urged to resist attempts by any institution to photocopy their Ghana card for transactions. Rather, they should insist that the institutions verify the cards as prescribed by the National Identification Authority regulation. It goes on, but that's the thrust of it. And you go to certain places, and indeed, they want to photocopy. I was somewhere yesterday, they took the card, and then they took my thumbprint. So no photocopy, at least I didn't see that. But the banks and others, I think this is something we ought to look into, because who knows what can be done with your information. Over to you, Doc.
Yeah. I think there was one story that I left out. I want to bring to the fore. Prices of tomato drop, and we are happy. It is a very shameful thing to us. All of us must bow our heads in shame. Why am I saying this? We are here. Arable lands available. We are here. This is a country that whose mainstay is agriculture, and we go to a desert area to look for what tomatoes to buy from Burkina Faso. Is it not shameful? Very, very. Everywhere in Ghana, almost everywhere, when you plant tomatoes, it will grow. What are we doing to ourselves here? What are we doing to ourselves here? We have not taken agriculture seriously at all. And that has brought us this far. If we are serious about this, we will not be happy that, oh, prices are falling and all that. The farmers who produce this, what benefit do they get? They produce and they get rotting, and there's no effort to deal with this. Whose harvest losses? They are still experiencing this. Where is the tomato factories that we are looking forward to under 1D, 1F? Governments have, over the years, taken the trouble to walk us through the path of slogans and all that, which do not bring anything to us. The people of this country should look sharp and make sure that this time, any promise that you want to give, we will interrogate them and make sure that we get the fair share of the bargain, all right? So that we earn what means of livelihood. What is happening here? Tomatoes. I think we'll reflect on that. Let's look at the economic growth that favors the rich. Very, 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 very unfortunate. If you have listened to or read the literature about, protests in this country and all that years ago and all that, one of the reasons was that the rich were getting richer, the poor getting poorer. So there was the need to change the status quo and make sure that we get the best for ourselves. And that's all these things give birth to the 1992 Constitution that we have, that will make sure that people will bridge this gap and create equal opportunity for everybody. Why are we having this anomaly? It tells you that holders of political power have taken us for granted. And we have glorified that situation by not punishing them when we go to the polls. We glorify them, and then in the name of tradition, in the name of ethnicity, in the name of religion, and the rest of them. It doesn't help anybody. Here we are. You are living in a country that the poor is getting poorer, the rich is getting richer. What kind of injustice is this? I think that going into this election, we should move away from tradition, from ethnicity and religion, and vote and make sure that we get the best. If you read Dan and Co., they said, if you are a rational voter, you vote based on the things that you derive from that electoral exercise.
Right.
I think Ghanaians should wake up and look at that. The issue of Shraj and the killing of the 8 people, right? They say they don't have mandates and all that. But where do we go from here? I want the lawyers to help us. Up to date, I do not understand why people who are prepared to be part of the political process to take a decision that will stand the test of time will be shot at the polls. Very, very unfortunate. And up to date, as if it's normal. Let us remember that even if you lose one person, it is bad enough to undermine the fortunes of the elections. And when we say free and fair election, people do not have the meaning. And I want to state here, free and fair election is one of the elections where it is devoid of irregularities. And that, at the end of the day, the political actors who contest for the election, they accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. So when you go for election and people are shot and killed, it is an aberration. It is one of the wrong things associated with election, and it undermines the free and fair nature of every election. We should stay away from this. We want political parties to convince us today, and want the government to also assure us that we are not going to have a recurrence of this ugly scene. Right. We are not going to take that, and we have to make sure that we nip this type of evils from our political process.
Well, thank you for those thoughts. Sweetie, what's interesting? No. In civilized societies, the rich are willing to pay more for the poor to get better. You go to a place like Norway, and it's not just them. They have a fund, very futuristic fund. They are not even just thinking of themselves. They are thinking of the future. Here, we destroy the future in the present.
And Doc's submission just brought to mind Charles Darwin's opening for A Tale of Two Cities. So it's the worst of time for the poor people, and it's the best of time for the rich people. Let's see where that
was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
And so it's like two different realities. We live in the same country, and nobody is caring about how the other party is, making any headway. Let me quickly run through the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, at Maiden Town Hall meeting in Accra, government told economy's recovery says, despite challenges, economy grows by $20 billion. Inflation drops from 54% in 2022 to 22% as of June 2024. I'll get into that story briefly. Uphold principles of founding fathers to propel national growth and development, according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And on election 2024 campaign, I'll consider Kusaug region, that is according to Mahama, and government bans lease of public lands by public institutions. Let's do the story about the former president considering a new region. And the former president, the flag bearer of the NDC, says that he would consider the request to carve a region out of the Upper East region if he wins the election. And the suggested Kusag region, which will consist of Boku, Pusiga, Zebila, Garu, Tempani, and Binduri, he says that this is to enable them meet the constitutional threshold or population of the area. Because of the security reasons, it will allow security personnel to have a more targeted or focused approach to dealing with the issues of the area if it's carved out of the Upper East region. And then government touts economy's recovery, says despite challenges, economy grows by $20 billion. Inflation drops from 54% to 22%. And I just want to quote some of the things that he said. Comparing figures, speaking during the Greater Accra Regional Edition in Accra yesterday of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, said the size of the economy, despite the challenges, had grown by $20 billion under the current administration. And comparing same with that of 2013, he said, under Mohammed's administration, the size of the economy was pegged at $64 billion. However, this reduced to $56 billion in 2016. And as of 2023, the size of Ghana's economy was pegged at $76 billion. And so in nominal terms, the economy has grown by $20 billion under the Akufo-Addo regime. I don't know if that reflects in our pockets, but that's what he says. And then let me do this last story about government banning the lease of public lands by institutions and individuals. Cabinet has directed that no public institution or individual can lease, transfer, or change the use of public lands without written permission from the President through the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. Quote, the general public is advised not to be a party to any such transaction in respect of public lands without the prior written approval of the President of the Republic, given through the minister responsible for lands and natural resources. He said in a statement that was cautioning the public institutions to be aware of leasing or participating in this thing that they're calling a crime now. Doc, your thoughts?
Yes. I'll look at economic recovery that the minister is talking about and is so happy. But my question to him is that at what cost? Yes, we are getting so much in terms of what the growth of the economy, $20 billion and the rest of. At what cost? At the cost that you and I, we are not ready to go to IMF, and they've taken us there. Is that what we are interested in? That we, after independence, that after gaining political independence, Nkrumah cautioned us that we should look forward to build what? A solid economy. Because there is a new colonialism in his book, the last stage of what? Imperialism. Yeah. Is it not where we are now? We've thrown away. We bent all Nkrumah books and demolished his statute and all that. Here we are. Nkrumah continue to live. If you look at what cost, where people are having haircuts, what is their offense? When they have what? Giving their money to the state to manage on behalf of all of us, so that the little that they are required by law to be given to them, you deny them. And then you are taking them what? You give them, instead of that, you give them what? Haircuts. Is that what we should be proud of? At what cost? Look at today. Right. The economic conditions of the country. So hard that you struggle to make ends meet. Is that what we should be happy about? Figures do not what reflect what is in our pocket and what is on our tables. It's not. The real economics is bread and butter issue. They should go out there and find out what the ordinary man is going through. All right. So banding figures around will not help anybody. The stark reality is that we are in difficult times and that we are not going to accept that. Okay. The issue of public lands. And we have seen in this country, we have beautiful law that says that the state can acquire state public lands and use it for public purposes. What are we seeing today? The lands that the state have acquired from people with the hope that they will use for what? Something for this, the general people. They come to office and then sell them to themselves. That is very insulting and very demeaning. You think that those who give lands do not have what? Conscience. They don't know the economics of the market, that they could sell on their own. We've taken them, and then all that we can do is that when we are leaving office, we sell to them, we give to cronies and pals and all that, and there is nothing. Now that you are issuing this statement, it's coming too late. We have done so much, but I know that better late than never. But we want the government to walk the talk, so that by the time, one day when they leave office, we don't want to see and hear that there is a state land which was sold to a minister or any of government appointees or assigned. That would be unfortunate. We need to walk the talk. And people must be vigilant. People like this, anybody who come into that space to abuse our right in there, when we get opportunity to change that person from power or not deny the person opportunity to have access to power, we should do so without glorifying them.
So better late than never, but this ban, let's see how it's implemented. Benjamin, any more papers?
I'll just do quickly. Republic Press. Ayariga Kandapa face off over 6 million Ghana cedi Boku Peace cash. Finance Minister begs for forgiveness, blames hardships on DDEP. And Ghanaians will get 100% internet coverage when I become president. That's according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. There's also Professor Opoku-Agyeman calls on voters to reject NPP's vote-buying tactics and release funds for the completion of projects packed to the Ministry of Finance. Yesterday, Doc, we spoke about this whole bit about forgiveness, and I made the point that sometimes when you ask for forgiveness, it's not because you want to win the person's favor, not because you actually expect that things will change. Maybe the person will still cut you off and something, but you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. What I've heard the Attorney General say certain things. I've heard the Finance Minister also wade into that. The Attorney General saying, oh, they don't want to break the 8 for selfish reasons. Okay, that's all good, but don't act like we owe you. You owe us, you failed to pay. The Finance Minister references the DDEP and the people suffering. Have they changed their stance? Do they feel any better? I know people who lost up to about 60% of their investments. How will those people feel? What has been the impact on the economy? And will the economy, in the words of Kweku Kwarteng, will it change from being run like a Ponzi scheme? Those are questions we ought to ask. Ghanaians will get 100% internet coverage. I guess the promises continue. Your reflections, Doc.
I'll look at the Minister of Finance begging for forgiveness. It is a good thing that when you know you have wronged a people on your own accord, not at the instance of somebody, you go out there and apologize. It's normal. It's a virtue. Aristotle, the greatest of all, gave us that there are virtues in politics, and this is one of them. Apology is good. But you see, you must confess your sins before apology can be accepted. What crime have they committed? We want that graphical detail. We want that. It shouldn't be a blanket. Those of you who are members of the church, all right, if you want to confess or what you want to render apology, you confess your sins, and your sins will be forgiven you based on the confession you have made. We have said so many things that are wrong in this economy. Which of them can they attribute to their own doing without making reference to Russia, Ukraine? They should come clean on that. Yes, we want to accept the apology, but confess your sins. Know that I did this I shouldn't have done, and for that reason, please forgive me on that. That is where I would say that then you are remorseful. And one caution to them is that you can also say that you are sorry and continue to repeat the very things that you say you are sorry about. Then it becomes meaningless. And my little boy, my son, one day, 7 years, told his senior brother 10 years, that Kweku, don't say sorry to me. Stop doing what you are supposed to do. Stop doing what will allow you to say sorry. In other words, don't do the things that will lead you to say sorry. Stop it, and you don't say sorry. I learned a lot from that boy. I said, wow. Let them fix the problems that have taken them to that level of saying sorry.
Prevention is better
and
than
let
cure.
us also remember that sorry doesn't fix any problem. Fix the problem and you don't say sorry.
Right. So on that note, we have to wrap up. Benjamin, do you have any other papers?
Oh, just the headline. The Accra Times, the Ejapadia document. Mahama throws Akufo-Addo's denial into the gutters, urges Ghanaian youth to help NDC send NPP packing on December 7th. You know something I found really interesting about that document? I don't want us to dwell on it because our time is up, but the rejection versus the actualization of some of the things in there are shocking. Whoever put this together, especially as now the claim is that the person was from the opposition or the other side, I don't know whether that person was clairvoyant or something, but it appears to be a playbook, a singing sheet, hymn book, from which, but anyway, it is what it is.
Thank you for staying with us on the News Review segment, which is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free fertility screening and free prostate screening at their various branches. Here in Accra, you can find them on the Spintex Road, opposite the Shell signboard, in Kumasi, Kronuma, Buenhia, behind the Angel Educational Complex, in Takrade, Anaji Estate, in Tema Community 22, in Techima and Hansua, in Esiama, in Zema. And here are their call lines, 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports. Here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. The Ghana Football Association Under 15 Elite football competition, which is being played by the regions in Pram, has gotten a eulogy from former Black Stars assistant coach Didi Dramani. According to him, the young talents he has seen so far have got the potential of succeeding in their career. There's more in this report that was put together by my colleague, Lawrence Beidou.
Of the KGL U17 Interregional Championship. This year's edition is being held at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram. The competition ends on August 8th, but there has already been some impressive performances, according to organizers of the Codes tournaments.
I think this game have taken a very good shape. This competition have taken a very good shape. We've seen surprises. Teams like Volta region and Northern region have taken over what we know normally the Ashanti region and then Eastern region does. And they are playing very well. And I think their composure and whatever we wanted to see is what we are seeing today. There have been a lot of interesting developments.
In attendance at the games so far has been former Black Stars assistant coach Masoud Didi Dramani. According to him, the youngsters have the potential to be playing at high levels if they are exposed to some of these competitions.
In my opinion, there are many of them who can even play in the Premiership. You see, it's all about, I started by speaking about the DNA and then the structures that have been put in place. If you have a clear structure when it comes to development, then you heard about the Yamal and others, right? And everybody was announcing that he got 17 in the tournament. But in terms of experiences, his experience, because he's played in the Champions League, he's played in many La Liga games, and before even showcasing him, he's played a lot of games. So the many games that youth players go through are what give them the experiences. And so as for the age, don't worry about the age when it comes to youth football.
After 3 rounds of games, Volta region lead the table in Group A with 7 points, with Ashanti and Northern regions closely behind. In Group B, Western region, Greater Accra, Eastern and Upper East regions are all tied on 3 points.
The Baba Yara Sports Stadium will be the venue for the next round of the CAF and CAF African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Ghana will be coming up against Angola on September 5. The facility recently was used for a church program for nearly a week, leaving the playing surface to look like a rice farm. But the National Sports Authority Director for Ashanti region, Kwame Ba, insists that the playing surface will be ready to host the match.
I believe that will be a concern to anyone, especially respecting the fact that we are all in it. We know the passion of the nation, and we wouldn't want to belittle anyone or take any stakeholder for granted. But the point is, yes, we do these events occasionally to beef up our resource base to maintain the facility. Okay. And so we are saying that we are on the grounds, we will continue to do our work, we will continue to maintain and fix everything possible to ensure that the stadium is generally ready for all competitions.
All right, but I guess my question on the pitch covers has still not been answered.
Yes, so the pitch covers, yes, we are, the head office is working round the clock to ensure we purchase the right kind of pitch covers. Okay. So a lot of people believe that the idea of pitch cover will possibly save all that we are talking about. But you know that the kind of pitch covers possibly a lot of people are thinking about, when you lay these pitch covers on a natural grass, you will still come out to see the dangers or the harm that has been done to the grass. Okay. Even though we are saying that, yes, we know that this period we give the pitch out is a free period for the authority to maintain, and we believe a lot of the grasses needed rejuvenation. Okay. Even if not for the event, we were going to take a lot of them, sections of the pitch, replant before September. I would want to invite you back in about 10 days' time. Okay. Okay. To so a lot of videos on the social media, you know, and I have tasked my IT department to do a before, during, and after video and pictures of the stadium. And at the end of the day, we'll come back to say that yes, prudently, we have managed the little resources you want to hear about from the Kumui program. And at the same time, we have been able to cater for our water bill, electricity bills, payment of janitorials, cleaners, and all manner of people working day in and out to ensure that your dear Babayara Sports Stadium, it's, you know, at a point where we can all be very, very proud of.
That's your sports. For now, we do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. We appreciate your time.
Welcome back on the AM show, and we are bringing you AM Business up next. Now, effective supply chain management fuels economic growth by optimizing production processes and facilitating trade. It also enables businesses to reach wider markets, expand their operations, and create employment opportunities. The gap between industry and academia continues to hinder the full potential of industry. So today on AM Business, we'll continue the conversation on the logistics and supply sector. My colleague Isaac Dawhnenya-Kpone assesses the impact of emerging technologies and the creation of an effective chain to support intra-African trade. Here is AM Business for you.
Rob's point about, you know, value addition to some of the goods that we have here or we grow here for that matter is a very important one, and it brings to forward a bit about after. Now, what do we do to ensure that we have an effective chain to be able to make sure that the trade or the African trade we dream of indeed comes to fruition?
Yeah, I think the after seems to be a nice solution to the problem of free movement of goods and services across the continent. But then, after is going to face a challenge. There are two of them. One of them speaks back to what they was just saying, infrastructure. Try to move goods and services. Don't even think about capital. from Ghana to Togo. You know what I mean? So the point is, are we going to use the road infrastructure? Are we going to use flights? Are we going to use the sea? If you try to use any of those things, I can tell you moving goods from London to United States is cheaper because of the infrastructure limitations. But then, related to that is the challenge of lack of regulatory synchronization. To what extent are regulations across the African market such that they are seamless and interconnected? And I was telling somebody this morning that one regulatory issue that I have a strong feeling will be a stumbling block for after success is currency. People think maybe it's language. No, I don't think so. The currency. To what extent are we ready as African governments and policymakers to let go our currencies, to adopt a common currency like the European Union have done to facilitate free movement of goods and services? To me, these are some of the challenges that I think Karaska can actually help in researching to come with possible alternatives way of implementing the AFTA concept.
Right.
To me, it's a concept.
Right. Prof, you have something to add to that?
Well, that's absolutely right. So if you look at Europe after 1992, with the beginning of the European Union and so on, you saw this incredible climb, and the euro used to be worth a lot more than the dollar because that dynamism that came out of a common currency, dropping the borders to some extent. I don't know what the British are doing with Brexit, honestly, but the united European market was a huge benefit to the people that live in Europe because all of a sudden you could get goods and services at a lower cost, easier, and pretty much everybody profited. Same thing could happen across this continent as well.
You did make mention of research and how we can dig in to find, correct backing for some of the decisions we take, businesses. How are we making sure that academia and industry are able to have that seamless connection?
That's a big question. This is a hugely important issue that we need to deal with at policy level, at institutional level, and at business level. It is the case and the fact that industry does not trust academia in Africa. I always say I will take away South Africa, but for the rest of sub-Saharan Africa, there's that huge gap between what industry does and think and what we do as academia. And I think we need to stop that. We need to bridge that gap. And one of the things we could do is what, again, I think we have been doing at Karaska for the past 4 years. If you look at our pillars, things that guide us, there are 3. And it starts from industry engagement. Everything we do starts from industry engagement. We come down to the level of the industry. We listen to them. We bring them to our workshops, our network meetings. We learn about their problems.
They often say a lot of what you do is it's too theoretical.
Too theoretical, I got that.
They need a practical bit of it.
Yes.
So what are we doing to ensure that we're able to translate their theory into practice?
I think in the U.S. the tradition is probably a little different. And actually, as part of Kariska, we've done 2 funded projects that these same guys, Nat, Abdul, and Emmanuel, worked on. We did a reverse logistics project in Africa that was funded by Dell, the computer company, because they are looking for expertise about one issue or another. And the place to find the best knowledge a lot of time is in academia. Now, I'm an academic for 35 years, so I'm a little prejudiced about this, but we got one going right now that Emmanuel's working on called SCARF, Supply Chain AI Realized Future, that's funded by Intel, Applied Materials, who makes machines to make semiconductors, and a company called Chemonics, to look at how you can improve distribution in Africa, in Ghana specifically, using artificial intelligence. So companies are not going to be able, are not likely to be able to figure out new things like, say, AI themselves, and they really need the university. And God knows the university needs funded projects from industry. I mean, we live off of that. So there's a lot of great stuff happening in universities all over the world, including right here in Ghana. There really is leading thinkers here.
So I think they need to trust us.
Right.
That we can help them get things done.
The whole technological revolution, how is this shaping the future of the chain? Begin with you, Professor Dill.
So AI is reshaping every part of supply chain management. So AI is basically old statistical methods with greater power, sort of made new, and also includes learning. And so there's a whole lot of things that are happening where you can automate processes that you couldn't before. The other thing that's happening is that every software you're using, there was a big announcement in San Francisco yesterday with Apple. They're going to integrate OpenAI, who makes ChatGPT, generative AI. They're going to integrate it into all their devices, and so it's a huge growth area. And there's folks in Ghana on the ground figuring out how to build AI into devices and software, and it's going to be a revolution. I don't know how long it'll last, but it's probably into my life, maybe. It's going to be a big deal.
Sure. And from the perspective of Ghana and Africa, I think we need to begin to prepare, because AI has a huge opportunity, but it also comes with challenges. And there is this fear that it may take away jobs. And so if you're living in an economy where most people rely on mass production for daily living, if you introduce technology like AI, what's the implication? But the other side of it is, to what extent is our economy prepared, human resource-wise, for AI? Are we training enough people to be able to power this economy from AI perspective? I think these are some of the questions that we need to be thinking about. And I bet you our academia can help.
I know we will definitely fall on academia for questions such as these. But lastly, in the next 5 to 10 years, beyond AI and the whole tech revolution, what would you like to see, especially here in Ghana, with regards to policy, so we can boost or ensure the growth of the sector?
Oh, I think policy-wise, the key political parties are doing well. I think they've all opened up to the notion of digitalization of the economy. And I think in the last, I would say the last 16 years, from 2008 all the way to present, we have moved really well towards digitalizing our economy, making it such that many of the activities that we used to queue for, we can now just, with a click of a button, with your phone, many of these things can be done. And I think it's a starting point, and we should keep up the energy with that.
Okay.
The only thing I worried about is the extent to which we are preparing the young people in this economy to be prepared for high-power technology like AI. I think policy should now begin to shift towards human resource capacity development. Yeah.
Great. Prof, same question for you. In the next 5 to 10 years, what should we do, especially when you compare the two markets, US, Ghana, maybe Africa, for instance? What should we do to be able to catch up?
You know, there's a unique opportunity right now. If you think about the sort of old economic advantages, they tended to be around labor, or they tended to be around physical resources. And now with digitalization of the economy, all of a sudden it's intellectual capital, and you got a lot of that here. And so it's a unique opportunity because you can catch up, but you've got to invest in the universities. You've got to well fund them. You've got to increase the technical expertise, and so there's a unique opportunity to be an important global player that really used to not be possible because of how you succeeded in the old economy, and today it's different. And so I'm quite bullish on Ghana and the rest of Africa. I think there's a real opportunity to make great progress, but you got to move quickly, and there has to be investment in universities, and you have to have policies that will open it up for companies versus trying to, tax a lot and really close down on companies. It's an important thing. This is a time to let 1,000 flowers bloom.
So there you have it. Invest in academia for quality of research, and also build or formulate the right policies which will be able to take into account the current revolution happening in the space to ensure we have a booming, supply chain sector.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now we continue from here with our big stories, and first on the chopping board. The Minister for Trade and Industry, K.T. Hammond, has indicated that the government has entered a 20-year agreement with WATCO to provide management services to the Komenda Sugar Factory. The deal, according to the ministry, will help revive the sugar processing factory, which has been abandoned since its completion. But the question is, are we getting value for money, among others? We're going to be watching a number of footages or pieces of footage from there, and after that, we shall come into the studio.
Well, I've approved it. It's just that we haven't dotted the I's and crossed the T's. I think it was agreed that to be able to cross the T's, dot the I's, and eventually put the signatures, we must be clear about the sanctity of this whole edifice. There's no point signing a contract, committing them to sink in so much millions money when the stability of the system itself is not so clear. So I think the provisional feedback I'm getting from them is that they are happy with the maintenance government, NPP government is put into this place. They are quite happy. They will be able to run it. So I suspect that anytime within the next few days, they'll come to my office for us to put our signatures to the document.
So what is in it for Ghana?
Well, if for nothing at all, it won't be rotten. This has cost Ghana 38 million, when it should have cost us about 14, 15 million at a time. Actually, I got it wrong. The figure, the 18 million I'm talking about, would have been about twice the capacity of this. There's only about 1,250 metric ton capacity, and that's what the NDC government sold to Ghana for 38 million.
Okay. So
your question, what is it that we are getting? We are making sure that whatever is the remnant of this survives, runs.
In terms of percentage, so let's say government of Ghana is going to get about...
You're talking about shares.
60,
that thing, no. That whole thing belongs to government of Ghana. Okay. This is 100% ours. The asset is ours. We are leasing it as a board in place, as a company, which has a board. We just put them in charge. But it's 100% Ghana owned. but we are leasing it. We are leasing our asset to a company which is going to work on it. I mean, use our assets, our equipment, use it, and then pay us back at the end of the day. We're not going to have shares in their products, but the company is 100% Ghana owned.
Okay, so for how long are we leasing these? And then
I'm thinking of giving it to them for 15, 20 years with an option of an extension or some sort of renewal after the initial lease has expired.
In returns?
Well, the contract continues. You want to know the figures? I won't tell you now.
Let's now also listen to some citizens of Komenda who are vehemently opposed, residents of Komenda, vehemently opposed to a supposed new deal with Watco in India for a 20-year handover, with government estimating to make $1 million per year.
I want to say, tea, one want to be assured, no one is away. One na sabi o na ye bedi kokon kotin akira na oji ahwefuna o honya na ahwefuna papa nti na ya be da sabi o abanfuna ye da emfa nkira ahwe na ahwe so ya da sabi oboa se siara mi wo kese awomro ye wa hunyehiem ahwehia ye wo mi da company 2 kra aba awomro wa ahwe ye kita wa awomro a sabi wo too good abayati awomro sabi ya hwedwuma ye kita anada ahwe ye kita wa awomro pa de masa se ye company be make wa asemi wa baba duru wa hwiri egu a nga me gidi de machi yo suyi awomro da kro ya mba kwa ye be sister na the 70 road ye buto ya dan era ba wa ye yimpa kro anada yimpa be buto aka wa ba be the 70 na sister road wa da yele wa da ba na so company abede anya ndi ni ye company be the two farms wabede woboduru yana asasa wobodua mango abaye 2 years ni another 4 years ni some 13th April 2022 ama yasabe yaso yakan ubam de ye ntie ne company ya de onchiado no ya de ondu ahwe na ahwe na yaso ya de tete mo from company cafe police for ayo so do police for masabe wo boye ye mu bi mu pa ya agwo me you ka say mo evidence I there pictures are you try sabe police car no ye police for sabe wo boye ye imperi sabe wo prepare one when you call police station ahwe ni ahwe no di kani ai owa omdo wa sabe company na bata asase na sabe wo ede oju wodugu machine so a oju ahwe no so anu so ni police ya ojina ho masabe obobo ban anada ofan no doma sabe obobo ban na wo meda wo bro ambo ko ma na won sen won ajapade anu so no ojina he na kobo police furu won company no won ban ni woju ahwe do tu ne car hu fiti so ebri obasin wakache funu mu de o mo no kwanyin bi ala ya de onse funu mu.
So those were some residents of Komenda bemoaning the situation, stating first of all that they are being shortchanged, they don't see how that is going to benefit them, and that they are not in support of that latest move as far as government is concerned. And that even for some of them, the farms that they had cultivated on have been, machines have come, equipment to take away what they had planted, among others, and that they do not feel their plight is being taken into consideration. But let's come into the studio now. Murtala Mohammed is former Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry. He also is a legislator for Tamale Central. He joins the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Eko.
Good to have you join the conversation.
Good to be here. We're all in black.
We are. I'm going to tell our viewers what I told you right before we came on air.
Okay.
And what I said to him was, if your administration comes to power, and something is not done about the Komenda Sugar Factory, whether value for money or something, if you also fail, we would deal with you even worse than we are dealing with the current administration in this situation. Aren't we all tired of talking about this matter? But let's talk about it again, because our money has been sunk in there. Why is the Komenda Sugar Factory, and you can look at it behind you.
Yeah.
This part green, white, and all that, looking pretty good. Look at this. I said the last time that if we are to work on this, even the way this has rusted and everything, it will still be cost to the taxpayer. We expended over 30 million. Was it euros?
$35 million
on this project. Yeah. Look at what we behold currently. Why? The question is why? Why are we here?
Well, good morning, and good morning to your cherished viewers. Most importantly, the good people of Tamale Central. I just hope I would have time to explain. We have never had the opportunity to explain to the Ghanaian people the rationale behind building the factory.
So you can give us the genesis, how this came about.
Fantastic.
And all the way to this point.
As of 2014 thereabout, we were spending a little over $200 million in the importation of sugar into this country. Yes. You can check. We're spending a little over $200 million annually in the importation of sugar into this country. The sugar we're importing into this country are in two folds. One, domestic use, and two, which is most importantly and significantly, the pharmaceutical companies. You know, pharmaceutical companies depend a lot on sugar. A lot of the medicines they produce, they use huge sugars. Now, President Mahama had a vision to see how he could support our pharmaceutical companies in Ghana. Mind you, the WHO at the time, and in fact even now, said that the Ghanaian pharmaceutical companies, the products they were producing, met the WHO standard. The only difficulty was that they didn't have the capacity to produce enough to feed the domestic market and perhaps to feed the sub-regional market. You can mention the Dawhnenya dams, you can mention the NS,
right.
Mention them. They have the capacity to do so. And the Pharmanova, there are a lot of pharmaceutical companies. Now, President Mohammed thought, okay, if our pharmaceutical companies can produce enough sugar, if they can produce medicines that meet the WHO standard, and the only difficulty they have is finances, then I'll give them direct financial assistance to see how they can expand, to produce enough for the domestic market, to produce enough for the sub-regional market, and also to create jobs. So some 5 pharmaceutical companies were selected. And at that time, President Mohammed gave each at least 5 million Ghana cedis so that they could. And there is...
Which year was this?
That was in sometime 2014.
2014.
2014, yes. President Mohammed gave direct financial assistance
to these pharmaceutical companies.
Yes,
about $5 million.
5 million Ghana cedis each.
Ghana cedis.
And as a matter of fact, there is evidence to that effect. When they got the money, they actually expanded, they created more jobs, and they produced, at least I can't say enough, but to a very huge quantity that a lot of their products were used by hospitals in Ghana. Because the directive was not that just produce and allow the government health centers to determine which products they buy, considering the fact that their products met and still meet the WHO standard. So there was a direct and a conscious government policy. Now, President Mohammed then also felt, now if you are giving them this money, and then they will be spending a chunk of the money we have given them to import sugar. So what it means is that the money we give them, they'll be throwing the money elsewhere and then getting the sugar. And if they buy sugar from India, what they invariably are doing is that they are creating more jobs for Indians. Sugarcane farmers in India are going to be getting a lot of jobs because the quantity of sugar will be imported from India will now increase. Now, President Mohammed then said, then we need to revive the Komenda Sugar Factory.
Right.
Mind you, there was a factory there before. And the people in the area have been engaged in sugarcane production for decades, if not centuries. That has been their profession. And it spans in 2 regions, both central region and western region. Now, when we went to the Indian Exim Bank for the loan facilities, the loan was in 2 tranches. $35 million to build the factory and $24 million for the raw materials, in this case, sugarcane, to feed the factory. Now, I have heard those who have argued, why is it that you have not produced enough sugarcane? You are building a factory. It doesn't make even any economic sense because building a factory takes time. When you plant sugarcane, it takes at least within 6 months, you should be harvesting. So were they suggesting that we produce sugarcane every 6 months and be keeping it down until we finish building the factory? No, you would agree with me that building the factory is something that we must do first. And if you look at the loan agreement between Government of Ghana and the Indian Exim Bank, they were to release the monies for the building of the factory, and after that, then we start that of what? the $24 million for the production of the raw materials for the factory. Okay?
Right.
Now, the contractor was supposed to use 3 years to build the factory. The contractor finished building the factory 6 months ahead of the scheduled date of completion. Because this one explained why we had to commission the factory, and without the factory being what? Producing the needed sugar. Now, the contractor finished, and if you give a contractor a contract to do, and in the contract he finishes his work, he would have to hand over. If you give a contractor to build a factory, and the contractor is supposed to use 3 years to build a factory, and within 2.5 years he finished, what he does is that he hands over. And before he hands over, he has to do a test run so that you'll be able to ascertain and establish that the contract you gave him, the purpose for which the contract was awarded, was achieved. So when the contractor finished, we had to go do what? Commission. But because we were monitoring the progress of work, we knew that the contractor would finish before the scheduled date of completion. So we started the process to access the $24 million loans. I had the privileged opportunity to have moved the motion for the approval of the budget, the $24 million loan in Parliament sometime October or November, I think November 2016. Now, Parliament approved the $24 million. But before we do that, we started the nursery plantation, and we got the money from EDIF, now Exim Bank. So virtually, government was borrowing the money from EDIF to start the nursery plantation, so that once we access the $24 million, then they will pay EDIF. Are you getting what I'm saying? The money that we have borrowed. The question you should be asking this government is, why did they refuse to access the $24 million? Because we approved the loan in November. We went into elections in December 7, 2016. NDC lost the elections. NPP lost. Our expectation was that they were going to go ahead to access the money since we started even the nursery plantation. And a lot of farmers, the outgrowers, even some of them went into borrow money to expand their farmlands to be able to produce enough sugarcane to feed the factory. Government refused to access the money. Are you getting the point I'm making? In any case, I've heard the video you played. Honorable Katie Amon saying that the value for the project, the building of the factory, was not supposed to be that much. He's just lying. And he's been lying consistently.
How do you prove? You were Deputy Minister of Trade, and how do you prove that the value for that project... Wait, let me land. How do you prove that the value for that project was what was put there, the 30+ million? How do you prove it?
As a matter of fact, in 2017, under this government, they got PricewaterhouseCoopers to do an auditing and valuation of their asset, what we built. And PricewaterhouseCoopers, after the work, indicated that it was $35 million.
Which was the figure that was quoted.
Exactly. So I'm saying that if there is any, so that story, that lies, that the thing didn't value 35 has been debunked with the work that was done, and you cannot discount the credibility of PricewaterhouseCoopers.
I think I've spotted a report before from PricewaterhouseCoopers. What I don't remember is whether it was $35 million. If you have a copy of that report, can you share it?
Oh, but it's a public knowledge. I don't have. But
I'm just saying, for the sake of facilitating.
You can Google PricewaterhouseCoopers. What was the valuation of the Komenda Sugar Factory?
Okay, so I'll throw it to my
producer,
team, my backroom team, able backroom team. Please check for me, because I don't have that on the top of my mind. I'll also check from here.
So, but let's try to corroborate the story
that
the tin was supposed to be 40 million, I don't know where he is getting it from. It's just the pure, fair, bare fat lies that they engage in. So I am saying that if in 2017, PricewaterhouseCoopers did a work on this and valued the project to a certain amount of money, any deterioration in that facility must be the absolute and exclusive responsibility of this government. But you see, it shouldn't be surprising to you. Long before even the factory was established and commissioned, the NPP minority in Parliament held a press conference in the Parliament of Ghana. That press conference was addressed by the former Minister for Agric. And among others, the reasons why they felt that government didn't need to go into that investment was outrageous. They said the factory is closer to the sea, and that when you do it, it will be rusting. Outrageous. So ab initio, they never supported this factory. They felt that the people of Central Region were undeserving of the factory, which was going to create jobs, thousands of jobs. And the good thing about this factory was that it was going to produce about 2 megawatts of energy to feed the factory and feed the surrounding communities. The question we all need to be asking, why did this government refuse to access the $24 million loan, which was already approved by Parliament of Ghana? And knowing that we had already contracted a $35 million loans to set up the factory. But in any case, even if the factory was not going to take care of the domestic sugar needs of this country, at least they would have been feeding the pharmaceutical companies with the needed sugar, so that the monies President Mohammed gave to them, they wouldn't be spending the money to import sugar into this country. Now, carry forward, Echo. You have said that yes, the sugar factory, you feel that it was not a good investment, which has already been debunked. As a matter of fact, in 2022, I think sometime April 2022, President Nana Addo visited Central Region and went to Komenda. And the chiefs wanted to know the state of the Komenda.
Okay, so I found something I'd like to just interject with. So it appears there were 2 reports by PricewaterhouseCoopers. It is interesting because there was a factory valuation report conducted, and on page 8 of that report on the Komenda Sugar Factory, which was submitted to Parliament, I believe by Honorable Alan Chamathing, indeed, it was stated that the PricewaterhouseCoopers provided a valuation report on the 17th of October, 2016, and the value of the plant and machinery was $34,678,400.
So if I say
hold for me. $34,678,400. So that's basically $34.6 million. But another valuation report was submitted on the 15th of September, 2017, upon instructions from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. And you remember Carlos Ahinkra had spoken about this matter, which valued the plant and machinery. It depreciated all the way to $12 million.
That was a lie.
Hold on.
And I'll tell you what.
Hold on. $12,029,715. The question is, what happened in between? That's a drop of about what? $22 million.
First and foremost, PricewaterhouseCoopers never did the second valuation.
The second valuation never happened?
No, they never did. And I challenge Joy FM, multimedia, find out PricewaterhouseCoopers. When this announcement was made, I remember Honorable Atta Mills, the MP for the area, wondered how could a facility in less than a year depreciate by that huge amount of money. It turned out that PricewaterhouseCoopers never did the valuation. When we pushed them, they said they set up a committee. Are you getting what I'm saying? And that committee did the valuation. Now, the one you read earlier, which was submitted to Parliament, submitted to the Committee for Trade and Industries, stating that PricewaterhouseCoopers actually did the valuation and valued it around $35 million, which I stated earlier. That $12 million, have you seen any report? Who did they submit it to? And I'm challenging multimedia, find out from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
In fact, if you look at, there was an analyst who also reacted and said that between 2016 and 2017, that is if we are taking the $34.6 million, there is a legal depreciating rate of between 5 and 10%. So it's not possible for the plant to have depreciated below $31,210,000, even if there had been depreciation.
I'm saying that it
couldn't have depreciated below $31 million.
I remember this government is a complete fraud. I remember I challenged the minister at that time, and I said that they deliberately were devaluing it to sell the facility to their friends. PricewaterhouseCoopers is a reputable auditing firm, an accounting firm. They would not do that. And I'm challenging multimedia to find out whether PricewaterhouseCoopers did that auditing. When we challenged the minister and this government, you know what they told us? They set up a technical team, and that technical team did the valuation. That was a lie. That was an absolute lie. With the PricewaterhouseCoopers valuation, they presented it to Parliament. They presented it to the Committee for Trade, Industry and Tourism. So clearly, this government is a fraud. And what they were seeking to do was to defraud the people of this country, because they felt that President Mohammed went into an investment that they felt extremely uncomfortable to comprehend with. And mind you, Even before...
Is fraud not a rather strong word?
It is thievery. It is even worse. It's even worse than fraud. Why? I am saying that if you lie to the people of this country, lie upon a reputable institution like PricewaterhouseCoopers, that they did evaluation, and this thing should depreciate.
Why has PricewaterhouseCoopers, a top 4 auditing firm, why have they
Do you
not
know what
come
they
out?
said? They never officially said that it was PricewaterhouseCoopers that did the valuation. Initially, they had their surrogates. They said, oh, PricewaterhouseCoopers did the valuation. When we challenged them, they couldn't even speak to it. Now, when they have their MPP apparatchiks and communicators, they will sit down and lie that, oh, PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I even challenged PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I remember I had an interview with your colleagues on Joy FM. And I challenged PricewaterhouseCoopers that I said, look, your integrity is on the line. Because we knew that PricewaterhouseCoopers never did the valuation. We knew that this government was lying. So if you have a government that can lie to the people of this country, in a matter like this, isn't that government a government that is a walking fraud? It is worse than a fraud. And that is precisely for them to allow the facility to decay in the manner that they have done. I think that is unpardonable. And I can assure them, people will be prosecuted for what they have done to the people of Central Region and the Komenda Sugar Factory.
Is that not always the rhetoric? You threaten, you dangle a stick. Oh, when we come, if we come, this and that, and you come and nobody. I mean, we become tired of politicians and these promises. This is not the first time you are saying this. If indeed there are things in there, why do you never address them when you do come into government?
Well,
the promises were made in the past before Atta Mills took over, when former President Mohammed was also in office. Now you are promising again.
We are yet to come to government, and I'm saying that per what we are seeing, some people ought to be prosecuted. People would have to answer, one, to the people of Central Region and the people of this country. But you see, even before this factory was commissioned, you had the NPP holding a press conference. That's one thing that has escaped a lot of people. Your station carried the story, covered the story. They held a press conference and demonstrated their dislike for the people of Central Region and this factory. But you see, Echo, I have heard others who have also argued that you commissioned a factory and that factory could not produce sugarcane. Your station, Multimedia, sent journalists to Komenda. It was led by Captain Smart, who at that time was working with Multimedia. Captain Smart was one of the serious critics of the NDC administration. I was sleeping at home as late as 1 a.m. when my phone rang and I picked. Who is this? He said, my name is Captain Smart. I work with Multimedia. I said, how can I help you? And why would you call me at this time? And he said, we are at Komenda. We want to have access to the factory around 1 a.m. And I said, what for? They want to find out whether indeed the factory which was commissioned could produce sugar. I said, give the phone to the engineer. He gave the phone to the engineer, and I instructed the engineer to allow them entrance. When they entered, they followed all the process, the cracking of sugarcane up to the production of brown sugar. Your station carried the story. Multimedia carried the story. So my expectation is that when people are lying that the factory could not produce sugar, that we imported brown sugar, you would have stood for government. Because as honest, transparent journalism...
That you imported molasses.
Yes,
molasses.
I'm saying that as honest and transparent journalism that is fair to every party, I expect Multimedia to defend the NDC government. You sent your journalists there. I instructed as late as 1 a.m., allow the journalists to, and your crew entered. They followed through the process. You carried the story on your station. Yet when the MPP are lying that the factory could not produce sugar, you guys are quiet.
So why is the factory not producing sugar?
I said, you guys...
Why is the factory not producing
sugar? Ask this government. I am saying that ask this government. What I started by saying, the factory was supposed to have finished in 3 years. 6 months before the scheduled date of completion, the factory, the contractor finished the work. But because we were monitoring the progress of work, we knew that the factory was going to finish ahead of scheduled time. That's why we started the nasal plantation and started the process to access the $24 million for the production of sugarcane. I led the approval of the loan in Parliament in November, $24 million. We borrowed money from EDIF, now Exim Bank, to support the outgrowers for the production of the sugarcane. We started that. The nasal plantation, thousands of acres of land for nasal plantation had started. then you should be finding out from this government. If they had accessed the money, the loan which was already approved by Parliament, what they just needed to do was to do the necessary paperwork. The minister is talking about dot and whatever. They could have done the dot, access the money, support the continuation, and we wouldn't have had this problem if we were not able to even...
The minister has said, and most of them who have come through, Alan Shemating, who made promises about this, the president himself has made promises about this, Carlos Ayinkra has made promises about this. Now we have Katie Hammond also coming into the fray. They all have, at some point, spoken about the fact that there were things that should have been done. For example, the sugarcane that you mentioned, that it wasn't going to be enough to start off anything. Some portions of the equipment, some paperwork were not done. Would you say that the NDC, hold for me, would you say that at the time the NDC left this factory, maybe you weren't expecting to leave power, but you must plan. When you left this factory in 2016, ahead of 2017, it was in a shape where anyone could have taken it over and ran with it, worked with it.
When we did the test run, and your crew were there, and what they carried and in your news, the factory was ready to produce sugar. And the reason why the test run was done was that the contractor wanted the people who contracted him to do that, in this case, government of Ghana. What you have asked me to do, I have accomplished. Now, I have heard some who argue that why would you commission a factory and then leave it? Sugar cane is seasonal. You use 6 months to produce sugar cane and harvest. You produce the sugar, and then you use about 2 to 3 months to refurbish the machines. That's how it is done everywhere. Seychelles go to India. They don't produce sugar the entire year. The time the contractor finished the factory, that was the time they were planting sugar cane. But the little sugar cane we had, that was what we used to do the test run. So that was the reason why when we commissioned, we couldn't continue producing the sugar, because that was not the time for harvesting of sugar cane. That was the time for planting of sugar cane. So our expectation was that this government, at least by January, February, they would have started. And in fact, in the handing over notes to the then Minister for Trade, everything was stated. The state at which the loan facility had gone, the approval in Parliament, they just needed to do the necessary paperwork. But this argument that it was overvalued, that is completely, dismantled by the work that was done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, completely dismantled. This idea that the factory was not fit for purpose is completely dismantled by your own journalists who went to Komenda and who we gave access to, and they did every work and monitored every process of the production of sugar. Is dismantled. So I am saying people should be answering questions why. But in any case, the Watco they are giving this thing to, that same Indian company, they signed a management contract with that company for 10 years. And they were paying the company $50,000 every month.
When you say they, whom are you referring to?
Government was paying the company $50,000 every month. The minister.
How long has this gone on?
Almost 3 years now. The minister, when you interview the minister, you know what he said? I listened to the interview, what we just was. When they asked him, he said, oh, that contract arrangement with Watco, I wasn't there. And they asked how much, because I wasn't there, I can't tell. Then this man is unfit to be a minister for a state. Because why? If you are the Minister for Trade, even if you took over for just 1 day, and what informed you to take the decision to lease that facility, you would have long known that this is the facility we have had a contractual arrangement with Watco. This is how much the state pays. Yes, he says that he doesn't know how much the state pays to Watco, yet he says the $50,000 we are quoting is not true. Now, if the $50,000 we are quoting as the monies you pay to those Indians who are not living in Komenda, they have their offices in Accra, they sit in the office doing nothing, you use the taxpayers' money paying them $50,000. If you claim that that story is not true, then tell us how much you have been paying them. But it has been revealed by your own station when they went to to access information. Your own station says, multimedia, that government has spent so far over 62 million Ghana cedis. Doing what? The Komenda Sugar Factory is not producing any sugar in this state. So what were they spending what have they spent the 62 million Ghana cedis on? They should tell us. In any case, those Ghanaians who were managing it, couldn't they have managed it better The entire board is unhappy about that decision. Now, again, the Watco company you gave the management, you signed the management contract with, for them to run it for 10 years, is the same company you are leasing the facility to. You think that if the facility was not financially viable, that same company would have been seeking for you to lease it to them? Because having been given that role, they have realized that the thing is financially viable, and that is the reason why they are asking you to lease it to them.
Are you against this lease?
Absolutely. Because even if you ask the minister says that, oh, I want to lease it to them about
15 to 20 years.
I want to. Who are you? He's not even talking about government. He said, I want to. In any case, it's either 15 years or 20 years for you to take a decision and even announce him to lease a facility to Watco. And you are not certain how long the lease is going to take. When you ask him, he said, oh, I'm looking around 15 to 20 years. If you are not certain as to how long the lease should take, don't even talk about it. The reason why we are against the lease, that particular company, Watco, is not going to produce sugar. They have indicated to the chiefs in Central Region that they are not coming to produce sugar. They are coming to import brown sugar from India, process the brown sugar to white sugar. What it simply means is that the farmers around that area who indeed have gotten a land about 15,000 acres, those farmers, some of them have gone in to take loans. When your station interviewed some of the farmers, that they went in for loans because when President Nana-Addo came, he assured them, and he said by his words, that I'm going to commission the Komenda Sugar Factory in a grand style. Little did the people and the chiefs of Central Region know that the president was lying to them, that he was going to commission it in a grand style. As a result of the assurances given by the president, some of them went in for loans with huge interest rates. Now they invested this loan, expand their farms. Now you are now leasing it to an Indian company that is not interested in the sugarcane they produce. They are only bringing the brown sugar from India to process them. What it simply means is that you are going to create jobs for sugarcane farmers in India and deny the Ghanaian farmers the opportunities and the jobs.
And we just saw some of the Ghanaian farmers, and we'll be interacting with one of them in a bit. Some of the Ghanaian farmers lamenting the situation because, like you rightly said, they've taken out loans to expand their businesses in the hope that they would produce, the factory will buy from them, and of course they will turn a bit of a profit. And now that is going up in smoke. Let me ask you, so what is your positioning? 2 questions. Would a future NDC government likely abrogate this contract, knowing the consequences, judgment, debts, and everything in between that could arise? And secondly, I'm taking you back to an earlier point. If people indeed are culpable, as you say, are we going to see them taken on for causing financial loss to the state? 2 questions.
First and foremost, the second question, absolutely. 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 The problems we have in this country is corruption. Look, I have said here on countless times, when the citizens focus on political corruption, it doesn't mean that other sectors of society are not corrupt. There is corruption permeating through the fabrics of every society in this country. But the reason why political corruption ought to be fought is that politicians have the exclusive and the privileged authority to hold those who are engaged in corrupt practices accountable. The president can decide who should be prosecuted and who should not be prosecuted through the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General. The president has control over the security agencies, the investigative authorities, maybe perhaps except, what's the name? The Special Office of Special Prosecutor. Even if Office of Special Prosecutor finishes with the investigation, it takes exclusively the right of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, the minister who is appointed by the president, to determine whether they should go ahead and prosecute or not. So when politicians are corrupt, it is worrying. And the problems we have in this country is that some politicians are fantastically corrupt. So whoever is engaged in corrupt act ought to be dealt with. And that is why President Mahama has indicated time without number that, look, he is going to ensure anybody whose actions or inaction occasioned a loss financially to the state will be dealt with, and warned the future appointees under his administration that don't think that my determination to prosecute those who are engaged in corrupt act by the previous administration is going to be, you are going to be insulated. That those who may have appointment in his government, when they engage in corruption, theirs will even be worse. And President Mahama has demonstrated that that he had people who were appointed under his administration, national service, who were prosecuted. You had Honorable Abu-Gapele.
You only seem to have the example of Abu-Gapele.
No, why?
And what's her name, who was asked to resign? Victoria Hammer.
No, not only that. I'm saying that the national service, the gentleman was also prosecuted. 3. This government should show 1. 1 of the
I just mentioned Abu-Gapele and Victoria Hammer. Who else?
Then the national service boss.
What's his name?
Alaji Moro, who was prosecutor, who was an appointee of President Mohammed's administration and the NDC administration. I have mentioned 3. This government should mention 1. 1, they can't. Instead, the president even declare people without. You have
but have people not been relieved of their positions or,
I say the former deputy,
resigned? Charles Edubuahin.
I'm saying that
did he not resign?
Please resign. We are talking about prosecuting. When he himself said that everything he did, it was Dr. Baumia. He mentioned Dr. Baumia's name. When you had the former deputy minister for youth and sports, what's the name? What's the name? Oh, the guy who is contesting to be elected as MP for one of the constituencies.
You are talking of Pius?
That guy is unfit to even go to parliament. Hajide, Pius. That guy should be prosecuted. That guy should be behind bars.
Why?
This is a guy.
Let's be fair to him. He's not here.
I'm making a statement of fact. This is a gentleman whose minister, he was a deputy minister. The minister wrote to the Flagstaff House that this gentleman is engaged in corrupt act. Now, there is evidence that some citizens of this country were impersonated as journalists to go to Australia. I have been a deputy minister of state before. The letter written to the Australian High Commission was written and signed by Pius. Impersonating people, that is a deception of one state to another. The Australian High Commission represents the Australian government in Ghana. Now, you have a minister who criminally wrote a letter to the Australian High Commission introducing people as journalists. For all you know, one of them use your name, you wouldn't even know. And those people went there, and in fact, when they went to Australia, they realized that they were impersonating. Who worked on the processes of their visa? It was the deputy minister. And it was the reason why the minister wrote to the Flagstaff House. Now, the president claimed that they set up a committee to investigate the matter. Now, long before even the date the NPP government itself announced for the completion of the so-called investigation, the president went to Volta region and announced that the guy is clear. He has not done anything. Before even the set date for the completion of the so-called investigation, there was no investigation. There is no any report to that effect. So, granted, let me conclude. Granted,
my name is Benjamin.
Benjamin. Granted that the gentleman was not engaged in any visa racketeering.
Right.
It has been established beyond any doubt that some people, some Ghanaians were caught impersonating journalists. Then who was responsible?
Okay, I have to go to one of the farmers, but just to ask you this. So you're saying that in the future NDC government, is Pius Hajide a candidate for prosecution? Is that what you're saying?
Not only he. Every single person who did that will prosecute. But let me answer the last question. Because you asked 2 questions. The first one was asked. The second one was whether we will prosecute or will deal with those who engage in
So can you hold on the first one? I'll come back to you on the first one. Let me bring in Dawhnenya-Kpone. He is PRO for the Sugarcane Farmers Association in Komenda. Okatechi, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Just break it down for me. How do you feel about the state of the Komenda Sugar Factory, especially as PRO for the Sugarcane Farmers Association? And how do your members feel? You can echo their voice today on this show. How do you all feel?
Okay, for the sake of my brothers and sisters, our sugarcane farmers, my police sugarcane farmers, I want to use my mother language so that they can hear what I'm saying now.
We would also, I mean, you can mix it up because some of our viewers also don't, you understand. Else you create the situation where you have to speak and then I have to now translate and all of that. So if you can speak English, we are no abona tofa wa kan kasa mo any problem. What I say?
Maybe jado akebio. Yena yedi ashu ni hina no sebio kasa me kandami na wabati. Nti you as a host, if there's a better translation, I want that.
All right, you go ahead.
Okay. Way back 2022. Now, yene Komenda Sugar Factory management is it's about the national work at the water. Not the Mibruno, Ghana Hena Mampenyin, his essence in another Akufo-Addo. For first time, when we pay visit to Komenda Sugar Factory, and see now our door with the machine to my means when we did execute the year down, no opinion, actually, you could come of none. Yes, someday I have today, can I see ammo anytime, sir? We hear Ashur. Now, you think in the I'm quick.
Okay,
hello.
Yeah, I said, one line, a chichakakra, wait to me, a move to a binny to me at the Awokano.
Yeah, but oh, yeah, now.
Mr. Afe de Ekakra. I have a day to chat. Wait me out also.
In 2016, on the maybe a young day, and then the factory means in Ashur now, what no, about the Wabotono, or ye need young brodo. And so maybe no one let the Kahabe my first to posting down on ma, I shouldn't have been walk. Into a mapa mesno, one to one son to my congonistica at that time, no. In some ma 2022, no, when engaging him, a catcham day. The many young would be just in him. If you better, you better, the answer, I shouldn't use that. The wood has to farm. No, I found that fact for. Next time, I shouldn't found what penny. Be also, the open the man of a farmers and now there. Labels book of which I feel no weapon. You know, so that's 19 will be the get the nasty moment. Now, the Komenda Sugar Factory me to more in a week ago, and they get the Komenda Sugar Factory no watch us to the Juma. None of the families no with the ass. Who will never be said they were butchering Ashur. Now, where you done when you Ashura, the region, Juman. In the issue of brown sugar and walk now what the Abba, in the families near Muday. There be Obandama on boy. So even brown sugar and work and what about you were actually into 20,000 acres of land. It was a law. You go to me, cashew, you speed or your factory, so on soon far. And at the Wabayano, why not what the account? And now we're back at a another brown sugar was about. Now, we're better than moon, why no white sugar, what Bulla farmers, no, so you were sure what pa. And the question is, Yay Juma Egu. Yay Juma Egu. In see, and yes, and some twins and show for him. Yes, some mala. One bombazan in my abundance. There you are sure. And so I crazy Jenny Dabumpa. You're not sure one trap. You're not sure one trap.
Mamincha no kakra. Enti o pa chese baby pote aye wo se siano. Company na almost your mobile Watco. Omo be hyehyɛ nneɛma ɛwɔ Komenda Sugar Factory no monyi ntumu sa mom pese omoba ebeye adwuma omo free India no kyese sa arrangement no enkoyie mamo
no ye beka ne ye nim nimpa bi ampa what the ashensa nti se dem company no what ashensa no ono ne dine dey obaka ahwirensu ana so dey brown sugar no kotin what aba ono yenji ntum as farmers so benda na cheda ye na ahwe nsu what da mana da bi ono the yenji ntum one more thing na ahwe no nkaza waka no ho ye na asem ni nyinara ye
na ahwe de a kyese mudua ye no ebi da so wo ho de
Missy, getting to 20,000 acres of sugarcane farmland, it will say Siala. You will to me, no.
It's say then I'll pass our ban here.
And see, I ban my young to just 29 days. Dembre 2022. You know, man, penny the factory for who the farmers, you are sure. And we're engaging him. And man, sending no cookies day. You're trained actually as Mohammed and Nadu. We're factory work for the first time with Komenda about today. I show. One what in our view.
As our hammer trofono and seven that's all. You any into the castle. What's a man can?
Munia.
Into what somehow would be trusting, what somehow would be trusting, and another thing.
And some year can in and day. Any press conference, your mom and penny 1 week. I mean, then actually no
more man penny 1 week.
The one man and a month for flour. Sunday. If you know with the wire and sanction on one actually. That's all under one car. I said, Nambo woman waiting. And 1 week, let me ask them, now I shouldn't walk with the arm. One more.
Norman Tonswe.
One to that, and I must say, you know, Quackudam, your wife so funny about that, about your mind.
But I say, and I'll pay when I chinkomo. And so that is the PRO of the Sugarcane Farmers Association there interacting with me, Nana Akufo-Addo. So he just, in a nutshell, he mentioned that in 2022, the president came, engaged them, made promises to them. And he highlighted the fact that if they are going to bring brown sugar or molasses or whatever liquid form from any other country to refine here, it's not going to go well with them because they have about 20,000 acres of farmland as far as the farmers are concerned, and they can supply the sugar. And he also mentioned that they are giving government, the president, a 1-week ultimatum to address their concerns, else they will advise themselves. That is what he said. I believe we have Franklin Kujo of Imani Africa on with us. All right. So back to you. If you have any quick reaction, then my first question.
Well, I think that, I mean, the people have no political party colors, and I think that the farmers who are concerned about this outrageous decision of this government themselves are expressing their worry. It doesn't make sense that you lease a facility such as the Komenda Sugar Factory.
So we have to wrap in, in just about 2-3 minutes, so accelerate from
such as the Komenda Sugar Factory to some people, and then they won't produce sugar here. They'll be bringing in brown sugar. I mean, here, then what happens to our farmers? Farmers who were motivated and encouraged to go in for loans to expand their farms because the president himself.
I think that has been settled. They've given a 1-week ultimatum now that if there's no response, they will advise themselves.
What the NDC government would do, first and foremost, would certainly investigate this matter. On whoever is found culpable of what they have done will be dealt with. The other thing is that I'm challenging PricewaterhouseCoopers to settle the matter, whether indeed they did the so-called second valuation of the facility. And I can tell you that they never did that. The other issue has to do with the other loan facility. As I sit here, I don't know what happened to that loan. Mind you, the $35 million loan facility we went in for at the Indian Exim Bank, perhaps we would have started servicing that loan facility for a project that this government allowed to be in the state. I see this, I feel like weeping, because this is a facility by now would have made a lot of money. In fact, the state stood the chance of making millions of dollars every year. Even this government themselves.
They say they are going to get $1 million every year.
But you see, isn't it ironic that at the time when they were entering into that management contract with Watco, they themselves said that with that management, they were going to be generating about $10 million every year. So why would you abandon $10 million of a factory that you built, and then you are now going for so-called $1 million? It simply doesn't make sense. The NDC government will revive this. And it is important also for me to state.
Okay, this was your final point.
Yes, we have to go. It is important for me to state. President Nana Addo came with his so-called 1D, 1F, somewhere in Central Region or Western Region, when President Mahama had commissioned the Komenda Sugar Factory. So the impression he created to the people of this country that he was going to build the factories such as the Komenda Sugar Factory, the textiles factory, the ceramic factory that President Mahama built. Little did we know, it was once again another scam that he was perpetrating to the people of this country just for vote.
Murtala, we're grateful for your time with us this morning. Murtala Mohammed is the legislator for Tamale Central. He is also a former Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry and member of Parliament as well. Well, let me tell you a bit about Danswell Services. If you're stressed out or in terms of your cleaning, well, worry no more. Danswell Services is your one-stop shop that meets all your commercial and residential cleaning needs, from pest control, janitorial and house cleaning services, event cleaning, waste management, carpet and sofa cleaning. They've got you completely covered. Whether you're at home or at work, we understand and know how haptic cleaning can be coupled with your busy lifestyle. So we've got great news for you. Danswell Environmental and Facility Management Services has got you completely covered. We excel in whatever we do, leaving you beyond your wildest expectations. Where you can find us is at Excel House, opposite the Regimanuel Estate Nungwa barrier, or you can reach us on 0302 905 538 or 0555 752 361. Dan's World Services beyond expectation. Well, what can you expect when we return? We'll take you to the Dawhenya stretch, where in fact there has been an unprecedented gridlock, which has become a major source of concern for those in that neighborhood, those who ply that route. It has become hugely problematic. We'll be heading straight there after our break to have an interaction on the situation. We'll be back on the AM show.
You're still watching the AM show. Now let's go to Dawhenya. That Tema to Dawhenya stretch of the Aflaul Road has not only become riddled with hundreds of potholes, but is also gradually draining the lives of its regular users, who spend an average of 6 hours per day commuting to and from work. President Akufo-Addo initiated the expansion work on the road before the 2020 general election, with a projected completion time of 18 months. However, nearly 4 years later, little progress has been made, leading to daily gridlock. This situation is not only exhausting for road users, but is also severely affecting businesses. In July, just last month, aggrieved residents staged a protest demanding the immediate completion of the expansion works. This morning, residents are threatening to block the road in a sustained 2-week demonstration. We'll take you live to the Kpone barrier to interact with some of the motorists and residents whose businesses have been affected. But first, here is live drone footage of the real-time traffic situation on the stretch from the TT Brothers Junction all the way to the Dawhenya Township. And you can see from the traffic flow from Dawhenya towards Tema, potholes just before the TT Brothers traffic light caused hours of gridlock. Now, Joy News covered this story, and a day later, laterite was poured to fill the potholes, which eased movement a bit. However, after weeks, the potholes have re-emerged. The same situation exists at the Kpone barrier roundabout, where the dual carriageway narrows into 2-way traffic. Just yesterday morning, road users were stuck for hours because a truck had broken down in front of the Belacqua company. Let's go on the phone now and speak to my colleague Carlos Caloni, who is on ground at the Dawhenya-Tema stretch right now. Carlos, before we speak to some residents, what can you report from where you are?
All right, Sweetie, I can tell you for a fact that the traffic situation on this stretch has not improved. I mean, it has become a regular situation here, all the way from the TT Brothers Junction to the Pram Pram Junction. This morning, the news team arrived here as early as 5:30 a.m. and from that time up to now, you can see in the shot, the traffic situation has not eased up. And the residents we've been speaking to have been telling us a lot of stories. But let me give you some background to this particular road. In October of 2020, President Akufo-Addo was here at Kpone barrier, where he cut sword and promised road users that this road will be expanded into 6 lanes to make movement easy on the road. And the expansion is about 17 kilometers from the Kpone barrier all the way to the Central University, which is supposed to have 4 interchanges. One at the Kpone barrier, one at Savannah Junction, one at the Dawhenya Junction, and the last one at the Pram Pram Junction. From 2020 October, when the president cut sword, we are in 2024. Little work has been done. I mean, if you come here, you see all the interchanges have been abandoned and no contractor is on the road as we speak. And the road is full of potholes, and this is causing a lot of delays, traversing this stretch from Dawhenya all the way to Tema. And so I would want to speak to some regular road users who are drivers who actually use this road often to share their stories with us so we can appreciate what they go through daily. Give us your name and tell us, you use this road often, your experience on the road.
Yes, my name is Rex Monitiama, the chairman of Bombaria. And I believe that as your joy news have come, you yourself, you have seen it with your eye. Because 2021, our president cut us short, as you were saying, and up to now, we have not seen anything on this road. And we are still suffering. From here to Dawhenya, when you take 30 cedi, because of the traffic, you have to take 60 cedi because you delay in the traffic more than 2 to 3 hours. And that 2 to 3 hours, you are taking only 30 cedis from Bombaria to Dawhenya. It will not help us. So sometimes you have to double the money to 60 or 80 cedis because you know that you are going to spend 2 to 3 hours.
That is between the Bombaria to Dawhenya?
Dawhenya, not even Pram, just Dawhenya. So sometimes most of the customers are also complaining. And when it happens, we cannot go. Because we can't spend 3 to 3 hours to 4 hours in the traffic. Okay. So we have to relax and load from here to Barrier, Saki, from Barrier to Bishek Camp. That is how we are doing now. It's very, very pathetic. So when you see those who are selling on the roads, they sack all of them. And even to find a food to buy on Barrier is very difficult because they told them they have come to do the road, and up to now they have not done anything. It means that our president have deceived us. Okay. He have deceived us. We are still suffering. So we beg them, they should do something for us immediately. Okay.
All right, so sweetie, that's a road user. He's a driver, the chairman for the taxi drivers here at Bombaria. There's another executive here, Paul Zoka. He's also going to share his experience with that. You are also a driver, and I believe you live around Dawhenya, and so you come to your station here daily. Share your experience with us using this road from Dawhenya to the Bombaria here.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, I also drive at Bombaria, and I'm a vice chairman at the Bombaria Local Taxi Union, at the same time a unit committee member at the Saki Dawhenya area. In fact, the road is disturbing us because moving from Dawhenya to the station, which is Bombaria, sometimes takes you 3 hours before you get to the station. And then because of that, if you need to buy a fuel like 1 gallon, you need to buy like 2 or 3 gallons. So it's affecting us a lot. My colleagues spoke about the fact that there are a lot of people that has a lot of shops within the road, but because of the construction of the road, those people have been moved to where God knows, and then because of that, it's affecting lives. Look, I can tell you, because of the bad nature of this road, because of the traffic situation, I can tell you for a fact that most women are even leaving their husband because it's like at the end of the day, they cannot bring any food on table. So based on that, a lot of things has been happening. Our money productivity is going down. Seriously, something has to be done on this road. Something has to be done on road because I rather that the president have deceived us. He has used that for his political gain. And I am not trying to do politics within the road anyway. But because he came here to cast salt that they are coming to construct this road, from 2020 till now, 18 months, this road has to take like 18 months. Till now, we haven't seen anything. So seriously, the road, the traffic situation is seriously affecting us. Meanwhile, we have some inner roads. If the government can also fix those inner roads, there are a lot of people, they will not use the main road. It will ease traffic on the road. For instance, if you take from Barrier to Bishek Camp, for instance, the road is too bad. So people living within the enclave, like around them to use the Bishek Camp road, because of the bad nature of the road, they would prefer using the road from
so basically it means that the access roads are equally in deplorable state.
Yes, the access roads are very, very bad. I will not say it's a pothole. Now I will say it's a manhole.
Okay, so what is the feeling like among your colleague drivers, the fact that you have raised these concerns over time, and it appears that the authorities are not reacting, are not working on these challenges? What is your plan as drivers going forward?
Look, we did some few weeks ago, but then still, the government has not done anything about it. Look, I believe that they have seen what is happening in Kenya and then what is going on in Nigeria. Look, we are also planning to do same. So
you're planning to stage 10 days demonstration, or how many days?
We will not go 10 days. We are planning to go 20 days. We are planning to go 20 days. And this road, in fact, we are going to block the road. Either police give us permission or not, we are going to block this road because it's affecting us daily. It's affecting us.
Is there a plan already in place organizing these people?
This one, anyway, once you ask, I'll brief you. Look, in fact, there are a lot of engagement going on our social media. We are planning demonstration on social media. I tell you, if I show you some of the platforms and then the communication that are going on there, you realize that we the people living around the Dawhenya, around the Bombaria enclave, we are serious. We are angry with the government. Seriously, we are angry. And this time around, when we are hitting the road, we not listen to anybody. We not listen to them unless maybe they came to start working on the road.
Okay. Stay with me. So, sweetie, you can hear the feeling among drivers here. They are serving notice of staging a sustained 20-day, protest on the Aflau Road, where they're going to block the road, and they want to liken that action to what happened in Kenya, as well as what is currently happening in Nigeria. But it's not only drivers who use this road. We have women who also use this road often, and so they will stay with me. The women will join, and so they also share their stories with us. And so you are live on Joy News. Last month or so, you are an executive of the Resident Association, the Tema Community 25. You staged a protest here over the state of this road. Have you heard anything since that demonstration?
No, thank you and your viewers. We haven't heard anything. We have followed up with the 2 district assemblies. We have followed up with Kpone Municipal Assembly. We have followed up with Ningo Pram District Assembly, and we have not heard anything. And it looks like we are being taken for granted. And this situation here we have, it's a very, very serious one. You should have been here yesterday. I spent over 3 hours just moving from Dawhenya to Tema. And I had to now devise using what we call lungus, the back routes, which were also not the best. You only need a good car to do that. And I missed my husband's medical appointment because of that. And
for how many hours or how many minutes?
For over 3 hours. Over 3 hours. I'm talking from Dawhenya Methodist Junction just to Tema. And it took me over 3 hours to get to Tema. And you think when you are doing any meaningful business or you are working, you are an employee, you would be able, your employers will not believe you if you tell them you sat in traffic for more than 3 hours just to get to Tema, not even Accra. And I think the contractor either must get back onto the road, the government must tell us something, because we are not getting it.
As women, how is it affecting you briefly as women?
I have stopped work because taking children to school, getting ready, then which means we have to start our day around 3:30 a.m. just to get them ready, send them to school before you go to work. So I gave up. It is affecting my pension. I have to find a way to do other businesses. And here, doing business is even very difficult because you have to start everything in the middle of the night. If I want to go to Accra, the latest is I must get on this road by 5 a.m. and move out of the traffic. Anything after 5 a.m., you are likely to meet what you are seeing.
Okay. We are told that people are equally losing their lives on this road. Have you had any personal experience to that?
Yes, I've experienced, I have witnessed at the Deftraco Junction where one of these motorbikes took 2 school children, and I think another vehicle came in a rush and then just hit them down. The 2 kids died on the spot, and then the rider got very hurt. It was a very pathetic situation. And it was that bad. And
I'll come back to you so we understand what the residents are also planning, whether you're going to join the 20-day demonstration on this road. But, madam, you are also a regular user of the road, but you use the inner road. That is the road from Kombaria to Mishakam. Share your experience with us on that road.
Now, sometimes I use this road aspect also. Now, it's very much appalling because I live here for queries. I'm late, so I don't know. It's like the next one will be sacked. So over here, I don't know whether I'm going to receive a sack letter or not. So look at the situation now.
So it's impacting your employment?
Yes, yes. Okay. So please, over here, as I'm standing here, we are appealing to the government to come to our aid because it's causing a lot of harm. Now looking at Pom to Michelle Camp Gate, it is a manhole. It's causing a lot of harm to women, miscarriages, and so many things. The government, we are appealing, we are just appealing.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. But finally, the resident association along this stretch, what are you considering going forward?
There's a lot of consultation going on. We were approached by several interest groups. For example, you heard from the drivers. And there's a lot of consultation going on. And there's going to be another protest. And this time, I know we are not backing down. Even if some of us in the various associations would like to meet government, it will be difficult because people are so frustrated. I hear they want to do up to 20 days. And so the various associations are in consultation with them. And by all means, we would have to join. Because we suffer most. Okay. We suffer very much in this traffic. And we are really surprised about what is happening. That this is an international road. And it seems it doesn't tickle government what is happening here. Because you have witnessed since we met here, you see how the sirens and then the dispatch riders are moving. So it seems they have a very easy way of moving. So they don't care. We who have the problem of staying in the traffic, we are the ones who are suffering. Okay. I lost an auntie in this traffic just not even a kilometer away. They were trying to rush her to the Tema General Hospital and they could not get through. And she lost her life. And I don't know what else we want before we'll get back on the road.
Okay. So that demonstration is happening 20 days on this road. All right, so that is the sentiment from residents as well as drivers. But I also have the assembly member for the Dawhnenya-Kpone electoral area with me. He is with the assembly, so probably he can give us some good news. Tell us, you have been doing a lot of lobbying, and so you sit on the corridors of power. What do you know about the state of the expansion work now?
Well, there's no good news anywhere. As far as I'm concerned, it's heartbreaking stories here and there. And I was much more heartbroken when His Excellency the President, just last week when he launched the DRIP project, said that this road will finish somewhere next year. So it means that nothing is on the table for us this year. And the challenges we are going through, it means we're going to face it till when they are ready to come on this road to, commence work. You see, just up there was a pub called Cloud9, and it was demolished because of this road. That's someone's business that has been put down now. And to date, nothing has been happening. So they kept asking, Honorable, so you guys are not ready, and you came to demolish our properties and our buildings. Boss, what more can we say? We have done everything. You see, we have used all the avenues we can use. We've appealed, we've written letters, we've called on them. We've used all the avenues. So now what is left is now for us to, block the road like the drivers are saying. You know, we don't mind if the police don't give us the go-ahead. It's our road. We matters. They also matter. So we need everybody on board now. This road must be worked on as soon as possible because it is not easy, driving on this stretch. And, lives are being lost.
So you can confirm that among residents of your electoral area, there's a serious engagement going on behind the scenes for this upcoming demonstration?
Exactly so. Exactly so. And very soon we hit the streets. We don't mind. In fact, the police, they are aware. We've told them the challenges already. And it's like every day we kept going back and forth on the same issue.
So we're going to see Kenya and Nigeria repeat itself on this road?
Pretty much serious than that one. We are not missing words at all. Okay. It will be more serious than what we've seen already there.
Are you giving government any time frame within which you want to see them on the road before you go ahead with that demonstration?
We're not going to give them any time frame. They pass here every day. They know what's at stake. They are supposed to come. I just saw the BHM car just drove past here. They are supposed to finish this work. So we don't know what the name of God is holding them on. They have their office just here. So why are they not working? Let us know. No one is also telling the truth. I'm an assemblyman. We've asked questions and no answer is forthcoming. So what do we do again?
All right. So when was the last time you saw the contractor on the road?
For over 9 months now. They are not here.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to us live on Joy News. So, sweetie, I believe by now you would have seen the real picture. From the Dawhenya Road, the traffic is never ending and road users are spending hours. I mean, they tell me they spend 3 hours in and 3 hours out. That's 6 hours on the road every day, inhaling the fumes from these vehicles, as well as spending their productive hours on the road. And they are sending a strong signal to government that they are mobilizing on social media to stage a 20-day demonstration where they're going to block this road. Then they believe that that's the only way government will listen to them. And so that's the picture from the Dawhenya Road here in the Ningo, Prampram and Kpone Katamanso municipalities of the Greater Accra region. Sweetie.
So much for bringing us that picturesque reports and interaction with people. And I must just add that the cardinal value that a good road or transport system network plays in our quest for development should not and cannot be underestimated. Someone is losing her pension because she feels isolated in a community where she cannot just move from point A to B like that. And this was supposed to take 18 months, and all of a sudden, 4 years down the line, and we are still struggling to find a contractor giving the money to complete this work. There's still more coming your way on the AM show. We'll be right back.
Welcome back on the AM show. I'm about to conduct a bit of a riddle with you this morning. The person I'm about to introduce next used to work here at the Multimedia Group. He has worked with the Fourth Estate. On another day, he would be touring some parts of the United States and teasing another friend of ours in the media. He knows exactly whom I am talking about. He also happens to be an author. I'm talking about none other than the man who has his latest work out. But would you like to know the title? Stay with me. Manasseh Azure Awene is in the studio. Do you know what you've made me remember this morning?
No.
That day I interviewed you on Class 91.3 FM. Do you remember?
I remember we spoke, but I don't remember the subject. It just one of those.
One of those interactions.
Yes.
Also in the studio is the head of department for my former department at the University of Ghana, Political Science Department, Professor Alidu Seidu. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
All right. So we are going to do a boys conversation. Okay. This latest work, The President Ghana Never Got. The President Ghana Never Got. And I see a certain picture there, but I'll see to you first. This book, let me see, how many pages? Almost 400 pages.
More than that, yes.
409 pages, including the
citations.
Why this book? Why this time?
Why this book? Why this time? In the United States, when they swear in their presidents. By the end of the first year, there are often books out about them. I think in Trump's first year, I counted as many as 18 books or so.
I remember some of them.
Yes. And then we have our presidents. They come and go. They don't write anything. For instance, I had a conversation with former President Rawlings. He told me he was writing his book. That was in 2016. We didn't see it, and then he went with a whole lot of experience and things we could have learned from. So I decided at a point to start documenting happenings. So in 2019, I came out with my first of such series.
The Fourth John.
The Fourth John, Reign, Rejection, and Rebound. And then he ended the dynasty of the Johns. Then we had our first Nana, who some of us thought was the savior. If the Johns came to prepare the way, then the Messiah was now coming to take us to the promised land. Unfortunately, that is not what we witnessed. And I've lived through this period, and I feel I have what it takes to document what has happened in the past 8 years. So I decided to, from what I know, what I have researched, and extensive interviews I had with certain persons in government, including some very close to the president, I decided to put this together, at least for posterity to know what has happened. If 50, 60 years from now, somebody comes and says, well, there was a certain Akufo-Addo or there was a certain John Mahama, and they are trying to compare records, at least there's something documented. If you look at the current debate that is ongoing, a lot of it has to do with the fact that most of our, or most aspects of our history have not been written, and then we have disjointed accounts. So if you take this book, it obviously cannot cover every single activity, but the major happenings in the past 8 years in the presidency of Akufo-Addo, including some that are not publicly known, but sources within the government revealed the stories behind them. I think this is the right time for us to take stock of what he has done. And as a journalist, I think it's also part of the accountability and letting the public know.
Okay. Is this going to be then an assessment of the reign of Akufo-Addo? But I also want to find out, do you have personal experiences in there? For example, there have been claims about, oh, at a point you were being hounded and you ran away to South Africa and all of that. Are personal experiences in the book as well?
Yes, if you look at the media, there's a chapter titled, let me just, since I have it here, let me reference. There's a chapter on the media. I think that should be in part 3. Yes. Murder, Arrest, and Exile, the woes of journalists under Akufo-Addo.
So that's chapter 20, right?
Yes. And I personally encountered a lot of these things. If you look at the fictional in quote, Ejapadia document, you find my name in that document. And I have not had it very easy in this administration. I had to go to South Africa at a point. That was in 2019. 2020, I had to go to Germany because of death threats. Between 2019 and 2021, I had to drive with police protection. It got so bad that I had to see a clinical psychologist for therapy because there's a mental health aspect to this. So there is some part of that in the book. I also recount some of the experiences I had, because sometimes you find people asking, does the president even know what is happening behind the scenes or all of that? I had a personal experience that I had to take a step to let people within the presidency know, and at a point when I felt that the message might not be getting to the president, I booked an appointment with his wife. That's the first lady. And when she came for that meeting, she said, well, my husband says you have access to him through a number of people, so he's surprised you are coming through me. And I said, well, it is true. but for ABC reason, I think I should let you know. So these are things that have happened within the period that the average person may not know how these interactions happen and whether or not the highest official of our country is privy to some of the things that happen.
Did you end up speaking with the president?
I initially wanted to. I remember speaking to his cousin, Gabi Asare-Ochiridakun, and when I finished, I had done my recce and people said, well, he didn't, or he wasn't happy with the work I was doing.
Who wasn't happy?
I mean, the president.
The president wasn't happy with the work?
How I was going about my work. So I asked Gabi whether there was a possibility of speaking to him, and he said, well, I don't think he will speak to you. And I asked why, and he said, well, he thinks you've been mean to him. And I said, but I even spoke to Muhammad. He said, well, people are different and how they process things also differs. Then at a point, I tried to also see if I could get another avenue. I didn't even tell Gabi, so I reached out to the president's lawyer and mentioned...
No, okay, at that time, you're talking of not the secretary, the lawyer.
The lawyer, I think Eko Esuma. And said, well, I'm doing this project and I felt I needed to perhaps speak to the president. Gabi told me he didn't think the president would speak to me, but is there by chance? Then he advised that if there's anybody who could convince him, then it should be Gabi. So I went back to Gabi, and Gabi mentioned that I should send a letter to the president first. And looking at how things were at that point, I felt that I wouldn't be able to meet my deadline. So I couldn't get the opportunity to speak to him, but I spoke to a number of people within his government who confirmed a lot of the things, and I had an extensive interview with Gabi, more than 2 hours, where I asked about the president, some of the things, the decisions, and the family and all. So I don't think I miss anything significant not speaking.
Right. So you feel you've gathered information, your sources in government, your sources online, your sources from experience, you feel this is watertight, though you've not been able to interact with the president?
No.
Right.
I would have loved to, but the circumstances didn't permit.
All right. Let me also go to Professor Alidu Seidu and ask, having read this book, you're going to be one of the reviewers.
The reviewer.
The reviewer.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, then your seat is hotter than I thought. What did you make of this book, especially in the context of being a student of political science? And you know, we don't say you can be a professor, but we are all still studying. As a student of political science.
I thank my brother for the confidence he has reposed to me. But I honestly think I'm unqualified to do the task he has asked me to do.
You are.
Because I've never written a novel in my life, though I have close to 50 publications, books, journal articles, and those things. I've never been an investigative journalist. I've never won an award. And honestly speaking, my friend and brother elected me to speak to your audience this morning, so your listeners and viewers this morning, about a groundbreaking, very impressive, magnificent work that he has done. And reading this book, honestly, I have learned a lot that I never knew about Ghana's history and about our current president, and one of the serious things that inhibits our ability to develop. When I review a book, I look at 3 important things: the credibility of the writer, that's the author, the content of the book or the work, and then the method or the methodology. And I think a lot of people know Manasseh as a seasoned journalist, award-winning journalist, but a lot of people don't know that he's also a very good author. And I think he's written 5 that I can count: the Voice of Conscience 2016, Letter to My Future Wife, the 4th John, Rain, Rejection and Rebound, Investigative Journalism in Africa, a Practical Manual, and then this current book. And actually going through them, this book in particular, I've realized that it is historic, yet futuristic. It sets the context of the current discussion by going back to pre-independence, looking at our historical struggles, the role J.B. Dankwa played from the CYC days up to the Fourth Republic. And basically, it will amaze you to know, and if you don't read this book, you wouldn't know, why there was no single Northerner, but even less Ashanti prominence in the formative years of the UGCC, and also why the Cape Coast chapter of the Aborigines Right Protection Society, led by Komenda Sechi, refused to be part of the UGCC at the formative years, and even why the Accra Ratepayers Association, one of the elitist group you could find at that particular time, led by Frederick Victor Nanka Bruce, right, also refused to be part of the UGCC. So it gives you a whole lot of history from the beginning, and that even fits into our current debate of whether the apostrophe comes before or after the S in the founder. And I think he started writing this thing long before the debate started. But it is promising. It gives you perspective into what you expect and how to do things better, given our history. But it is also written in a very simple narrative style, yet it is very detailed if you take the book. So you'll be marveled to know the last and the only time a Ghanaian leader wore a political suit for substantial inauguration as a president. If you don't read the book, you wouldn't know why the number of seconds the current president held the presidential sword when he was sworn in at the first time and when he was sworn in at the second time. And all these very minute details fit into providing a lot of evidence in the narration. He also talked about the mobilizational powers of our president and why he preferred to replace ministers rather than reshuffle them. And then and also the so-called big-size government that he had during those particular years moving forward. But it is also very revealing. To be honest with you, if you want to understand the full-blown strategy of how the NDC was able to elect Bagbin, the Right Honorable Alban Sumani.
You have to read this book.
You have to read that.
We're not going to give away.
No, I'm not going to say it,
but at least we know what to expect come that review.
It's mind blowing.
I can see where you're
honestly,
going.
I just want to make the last point. Look, it is local because it uses Ghana as a setting. The characters are Ghanaian. The issues are issues that affect Ghanaians. But the impact and the influence of the book is global. It speaks to the role of state institutions and how when they are undermined, it affects our collective ability and resolve to develop. But leadership is key, but also the people you surround yourselves with can be a very critical issue in determining how things go.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to activate the phone lines shortly. We're going to cap off this conversation and activate the phone lines for you to share your thoughts on what we've been discussing in the course of the show, this as well. But Manasseh, before you take leave of us, is this book all about Akufo-Addo? And what can we, look forward to come tomorrow? Tomorrow is the launch, right?
Well, it's not all about Akufo-Addo. You have a Jeopardy in there. You have the economy in there. You have how the finance minister, that's Ken Ofori-Atta, actually benefited. Former finance minister. Actually benefited from the loans we took. There were these arguments that before he came, Data Bank was already doing it. People would be surprised to know that when he became a minister, Data Bank was not part of the companies. It was a year later that Data Bank came back. And I think since its inception, I think 27 years or so before Ken became finance minister, Data Bank had already only been used twice. And then also interesting details from Parliament. I spoke to the woman who told Honorable Muntaka that a Supreme Court judge called her, and there's a story of how cash moved from the Jubilee House to Parliament during vetting. And so there's a lot to find.
There's a lot of meat.
And some of these things I actually spoke to MPs, and they confirmed. Yes, the cash came. What was it used for? You find it in that book.
So all roads tomorrow lead to the Christ the King parish as we launch this book, The President Ghana Never Got, and pictured there, yes, the man himself, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. What time are we looking at tomorrow at Christ the King?
It's 5 p.m.
5 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. You have your reviewer. Which other people are showing up? We have to go, but quickly, any others?
Oh, yes, there are very many people from academia, politics, business, media, and of course, Harmonious Chorale will be there to entertain us.
All right. And so we had in the studio Manasseh Azure Awene, investigative journalist, author of that book, The President Ghana Never Got. Some were saying before that would have said, oh, the president Ghana never had. Well, the president Ghana never got. He did become president. It's getting launched tomorrow. Christ the King parish. It's actually opposite the Jubilee House. Until you don't need to go far. 5 p.m. And also joining me in the studio, Professor Ali Duseidu. He's head of department at the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana. We're activating the phone lines now. You know the number to call, 0302-211-691 extension 2. 0302-211-691 extension 2. And let us actually hear from you. But in between, your favorite podcast show, Bus Stop Diaries, now airs every Saturday. And I'll be giving you more details of that as we go on. 0302-211-691 extension 2. 0302-211-691 extension 2 is the number you can call. Can we talk about Bus Stop Diaries as I started earlier? Your favorite podcast show, Bus Stop Diaries, now airs every Saturday at 4 p.m. on the Joy News channel. You can also watch and listen to all our episodes on the Joy News YouTube channel, myjoyonline.com, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Grab a chilled drink and join us for another exciting journey filled with trending buzz. Let's pick our first caller now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Your name, where you're calling from. Be very brief. We have limited time.
Okay. My name is Honorable Zakaria, former Assembly member for Kumbungunga Process Electoral in the Northern region.
Quick thoughts.
Yeah, my regards to Manasseh and Dr. Alido.
All right.
Actually, I also want to comment Manasseh for the launch of this book. But I'm looking at the time and well, it's an election year, but I want to find out whether Manasseh also have something concerning his exile in South Africa.
He actually mentioned that he had a bit of it, not just South Africa, but Germany as well. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. On to the next caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Please don't listen to me on your TV set. Listen to me on the phone. Your name, where you're calling from.
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning.
Okay, I think we may have to get on to the next caller. 0302-211-691 extension 2. 0302-211-691 extension 2. It's at the bottom of your screens. Hello, good morning. Do we have a call on the line? Hello?
Wow. Hello?
All right, Abdul Fattah, what are your thoughts for us?
Yeah, please. I want to congratulate Manasseh on the launch of his book.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also like to hear from him concerning some of the issues raised. If you look at, we are in a political, an election year, and I don't know that you foresee the impact of this book coming to our elections, because if we study what is happening around the world, there's a lot of tension with regards to elections, and I don't know how the book
All right.
will impact, and I don't know how people will see in comparison with trying to, convince electorates or trying to, to You understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, I don't think I understand you, but whatever the point is, thank you very much. That's our final caller. I will say this, if you are looking for impact, it will come from those who read the book. So you might as well grab a copy for yourself, and then we'll see what I don't think he can sit here and tell us that my book will have this impact or that it will determine who wins election 2024. Anna?
I can't. Interestingly, 2 cabinet ministers called me and then expressed similar concerns. Yes. And I said, well, as a journalist, I've always been doing my work, and even in election years, I don't stop doing my work. And in 2016, people would remember, it was an election year about this time, there was a Ford scandal, and one party was happy, another party wasn't happy, and all of that. So I will always do my work as honestly as I can. Whoever benefits or does not, that is a secondary matter.
Put it there. Some good work you're doing. Manasseh Azure-Awene, like I said, author of that book, The President Ghana Never Got. And of course, we're also joined in the studio by Professor Ali Duseidu, head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana. Before we go, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa, Dubai. You have seen the rest. Now it's time to see the very best. Take a break from work, take a break from the South. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa, Dubai, as we call it, is the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the South. Now, this is what awaits you if you take on the challenge. 1, an unforgettable safari experience. They have an amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, and many others, using their spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or quad bikes. 2, water sports such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides, and various family games to keep you and your families excited every day. But it doesn't stop there. There's still more. If you are one looking for great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, they have you completely covered. They will take you to the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, among many others. So my advice to you, escape from the South, escape to the North, escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa, Dubai, for an unforgettable safari experience. Just call these numbers, 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463 to make your reservations or make inquiries now. Maybe someday we should come together and go to Drapa, Dubai. But for now, it's a wrap on the show. I do this always with, Sweetie Abochi. It's been a pleasure coming your way. Joy News Desk up next.